I started to lose hope of ever finding the one, but then I saw them online. We met in person and they looked exactly like their photo. As soon as they touched my face, I knew we were made for each other, and I just couldn't believe attractive, well-put-together glasses were available elsewhere.
Don't fancy the frames at your opticians? Specsavers is available. Bring in your prescription and get 2 for 1 from £69 with single vision lenses to the same prescription. Ask in store for details.
It's game day, and this is the home of Scottish football. It's Clyde One Super Scoreboard.
Good afternoon and welcome to Clyde One Super Scoreboard as we get back to league action after last week's cup drama. Rangers are at home. There's a potential debut for Todd Cantwell with the visit of St. Johnstone. All eyes on Easter Road. El Sacchio, some are calling it, between Jim Goodwin and Lee Johnson as Hibs take on Aberdeen, and two other big fixtures in the top flight: Ross County Kilmarnock and St Mirren Motherwell. I'm Gordon Duncan, and joining me in the studio is Daziel, Mark Wilson and Hugh Keevins.
Back to league football. And how? Rangers against the St Johnstone side, who've had 5 defeats in a row in the league, can reduce the gap between themselves and Celtic to 6 points ahead of Celtic's visit to Dundee United tomorrow. And the team news is sensational. Will let Andrew McLean take care of that? At Easter Road, it's not so much who dares wins as who wins stays in the battle between Lee Johnson and Jim Goodwin. And at the bottom, Ross County can come off the bottom and go into 11th place if they beat a struggling Kilmarnock. Great day.
What an interesting day ahead. Hugh's right. I mean, something at stake everywhere, all the way up in Dingwall. Kilmarnock, Ross County, bottom of the table clash. You look at Motherwell, St Mirren. Stevie Hamill desperately needs a win in the league, and St Mirren looking to go into the top 6. You've got Lee Johnson against Jim Goodwin, and I'm sure Rangers fans going along to Ibrox today will be desperate to see Todd Cantwell and maybe a returning Yanis Hadji.
Yeah, Mark touched on definitely need a win. I think there's a lot of clubs this afternoon needing a win, Gordon. You look at St Johnstone, that's a massive ask. I can't see that. Hibs and Aberdeen need a win. St Mirren and Motherwell need a win. Ross County and Kilmarnock need a win.
And that doesn't even tell the full picture, because if you look down throughout the SPFL, there are fantastic games all across the place. Dundee, Queen's Park, massive game at the top of the championship. Local to us, Partick, Thistle, Hamilton's got a good look to it as well, and on we go down the divisions. But let's focus on our featured matches in the Scottish Premiership. We've got interesting team news at Ibrox with Andrew McLean.
Yeah, well, the headlines this week have been about both Aberdeen and Hibs, haven't they? Because there's so much going on there. But the story here is maybe just how little is going on at Rangers in terms of transfers in at the moment. I'm sure many supporters would have expected more than one to be in the door at this moment, with just a few days left of the transfer window. Work is going on in the background with Nicholas Raskin and Morgan Whittaker, but as it stands, Todd Cantwell the only player in, and a big call from Michael Beale because he makes his debut from the start today. And one player that will feel like a new signing is Yanis Hadji. 1 year and 1 week since his last Rangers appearance, 372 days ago. He's back on the bench today. Michael Beale hoping to continue that unbeaten run of his too, and he's up against a side who can't really buy, I was going to say I can't buy a win at the moment, they can't even buy a point at the moment. St Johnstone 5 straight Premiership defeats in a row, also knocked out the Scottish Cup by Rangers in their last match too. Still a wee bit of daylight between themselves and the teams below, but they played a game more than the likes of Motherwell and Dundee United, so they're in real danger of getting sucked back in to that relegation scrap. As for team news, 2 changes for Rangers: Lundstrom and Sakala, the 2 dropping out, and as I say, the big news, Todd Cantwell in from the start. Alan McGregor is the goalkeeper for them today. The back 4, James Tavernier, Connor Goldson, Ben Davies and Borna Barisic. The midfield 3, Ryan Jack, Glenn Kamara and Malik Tillman. Todd Cantwell and Ryan Kent either side of Alfredo Morelos. The substitutes: McLaughlin, Lundstrom, Hadji, Cholak, Sands, Wright, Sakala, Arfield and Devine. As for St Johnstone, Remy Matthews starts in goal for them. The back 4, James Brown, Liam Gordon, Andy Considine and Adam Montgomery. 5 across the midfield, Dre Wright, Callum McPherson, Melker Hallberg, Daniel Phillips and Conor McLennan. Nicky Clark, the lone striker for them today. The substitutes: Parish, Mitchell, Wotherspoon, Crawford, Carey, Bear, May, Murphy and O'Halloran. The referee at Ibrox today is Willie Collum. The VAR, Nick Walsh.
If the theme of this week, Hugh Keevins, is that there's only been one signing at Ibrox, well,
Yep.
the Rangers fans going along will get a good old look at him, Todd Cantwell, because he starts this afternoon.
I came here to give my flawless prediction of Rangers to win 4-0. Now that I know that Todd Cantwell is playing and the atmosphere will have been cranked up, I'm changing it to 5-0.
nice conservative start to the show. I suppose the interesting thing about it, Gordon, is just how quickly he's been thrown in. Todd Cantwell has not played a game of football since the 12th of November, and he's not started one since the 2nd of November when he lined up for Norwich against Michael Beale's QPR. Funny how these things work out. But there we are, he does start today. Does that surprise you at all, given that time frame?
Yeah, it does. Usually when a new player arrives at a club and he's not had so much game time, Gordon, and you've just highlighted he's not, then they bed them in on the bench. Maybe if it was a comfortable afternoon for Rangers, the 20 minutes as usual, just bed them in nice and slowly. But well done to the Rangers manager. He's looked at him, thinks he's sharp enough, thinks he's a case of getting him in early, getting him up to speed, letting the Rangers fans, there'll be a big crowd there at Ibrox today, let them see what he's signed. So I think it's exciting today.
I think, signings like Cantwell have to be made to improve the team and to have an instant impact. But I just thought it was a wee bit too soon. I didn't expect him to start the game. I thought he'd get some minutes. Biggest surprise, I think, for me is that Sakala is the one that misses out, because he's been in great form this season. Even last week, it was his shot that obviously rebounded to Barisic and he puts it in the net. And he's been a real find for Beale. So Cantwell in, big opportunity for him. I just wonder what his fitness levels are like.
I suppose Andrew McLean, not to suggest for a second Rangers are taking St Johnstone lightly, but on paper it's not an overly difficult fixture at home to St Johnstone. If he wasn't to start today, you then roll on to Tynecastle Wednesday night. You're not pitching him in there for his first start, you can't imagine. So maybe just do it while you can in what might be what Michael Beale will be hoping will be a bit of a gentle debut for him.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Michael Beale said he wants to bring in players to improve the first team, and if he wants Todd Cantwell to be playing games consistently, he needs to get him out on the pitch. Todd Cantwell spoke about his own fitness. He said he's a naturally fit player, but he said the only thing he's maybe lacking at the moment is match fitness. So the only way you can get that is by playing matches. And you look at this game today, Ibrox looks a very good pitch today. It's a big pitch as well, a home crowd. The conditions are good for a game of football, so for a creative player like Todd Cantwell, this is the game that he will look at and think, you know what, this is the type of game that should, if I'm on top form, be able to go in and make a difference. And he'll want to really appease the Rangers crowd as early as possible. So good conditions certainly for him to make his debut. We'll see how he gets on.
And is that where this notion of home advantage, particularly for the big two, is so important, Gordon? Because I know St Johnstone are on this dreadful run and they lost against Rangers in the Cup, but you would probably say there wasn't much in that. I mean, the scoreline certainly tells you that, even the balance of play. But it was at McDermott Park and this one's at Ibrox, and does it just feel like a totally different challenge?
Well, yeah, I think it's a massive challenge for St Johnstone, especially going to Ibrox. New signing there gives everybody a lift, gives the crowd a lift. I just think that if you're at home, the pitch isn't as good as Ibrox. I'm not being disrespectful to the groundsman up there, but the pitch isn't as good, so it plays into your hands a little bit. But going to Ibrox this afternoon, desperate for a win, it's a hard one for Callum Davidson, because what do? You put everybody behind the ball and try and hit Rangers in the counter attack. That's a dangerous game. They could lose an early goal and it could be anything they want. I don't see any hope for St Johnstone. I know there's always a chance in football. I don't see any hope for him.
If you were Callum Davidson and you've been there, Gordon, in the dressing room, and you're trying to whip up your players pre-match, if you were Callum Davidson, you would say they're playing Todd Cantwell because they think you're easy. And the truth of the matter is, that's correct.
We will find out in the coming hours that lie ahead. But to recap that headline team news from Ibrox, Todd Cantwell makes his full Rangers debut. He's in from the start as Rangers welcome St Johnstone. Now, you know the way it works. We don't make any secret of this. On Clyde One Super Scoreboard, we're based here in Glasgow in the West, and if one of the big two is at home on a Saturday at 3 o'clock, it tends to be the priority. But I wonder if we've got a bit of shared responsibility on that front this afternoon, because Hibs against Aberdeen is massive for a whole host of reasons, to be explained by Roger Hannah.
Can you feel the tension, Gordon?
Yes.
Well, listen, you've heard of the old firm. These two are the in firm. Jim Goodwin has remarkably got a stay of execution after that calamitous Scottish Cup defeat at Darvel on Monday night. But Dave Cormack's statement on Wednesday night didn't really give you the impression he might be around much longer, and I think a defeat today could be the end for Goodwin as Aberdeen manager after just 12 months in the job. To make matters worse, they haven't won here at Easter Road in their last 4 visits, and even Darvo joined the pile-on this morning. They're trolling them. They tweeted, "Our DMs are open if you're looking for any advice today, Hibernian." So everybody's getting into poor Jim and his players. They lost here, if you remember, in September, Gordon, that Liam Scales red card after a controversial clash in the box with Ryan Porteous. Porteous is gone, and that is part of the problem for Hibs here today. You know, he went to Watford yesterday, the 10th departure in the first team squad this month alone. Kevin Nisbet would have made it 11, but he turned down Millwall yesterday, came back up the road last night and is only on the bench for Hibs this afternoon. But they've lost Ryan Schofield, Dimitri Mitchell, Elias Melkerson, Noah Kenna, Momadou Bojang, Stephen Bradley, Kevin Dabrowski, Joe Balde, Jack Bryden, all out this window. And they've also got Rocky Bashiri out for 3 months after that horrible injury in the Derby defeat last weekend. Kel McGuinness isn't fit, Martin Boyle's out long term, Jake Doyle-Hayes misses out today, Mikola Kukarevich, who would probably have been first in line to replace Nisbet up front today, he's injured as well. They have made moves for Oxford defender Stuart Finlay and Bailey Wright of Sunderland, who's also a target for the Dons. Neither deal is done yet, and that means there's youngsters like Murray Johnson, Oscar McIntyre, Ethan Laidlaw and 18-year-old Josh O'Connor, son of former Hibs striker Gary, are all involved in the squad today. Hibs lost 4-1 at Pittodrie to Aberdeen in November in the last meeting, and they are still reeling from that 3-0 cup defeat to Hearts last weekend. So it's anxious, it's tense, it's nervous, the pitch isn't great. This could be an old-fashioned scrap to the death this afternoon. 4 changes for Hibs: Fish, Hanlon, Newell and McCurdy in for Bashiri, Porteous, Cabraya and Nisbet. So that means it's David Marshall in goal. It's a back 4: Chris Cadden, Will Fish, Paul Hanlon and Lewis Stevenson. Midfield: Josh Campbell, Jimmy Jeggo and Joe Newell. And up front, Eli Ewan, Harry McCurdy and Aidan McGeady. On the bench, Johnson, Nisbet and Miller, Cabraya, Tavares and Henderson, McIntyre, Laidlaw and O'Connor. 3 changes for the Dons after Darvel. Back come the experience of Graham Shinney, Johnny Hayes and Bojan Majovski for Coulson, Mislovic and Duncan, who all go to the bench. That means Joe Lewis in goal. Usual back 3 of Ross McCrory, Anthony Stewart and Liam Scales. Across the middle, Matty Kennedy, Ilber Ramadani, Leighton Clarkson, Graham Shinney and Johnny Hayes. And up front, Bojan Majovski with Duke. The subs are Richie, Barron and Mislovic, Watkins, Duncan and Polvara, Coulson, Roberts and 16-year-old Finlay Marshall. The referee at Easter Road today is Craig Napier, and the VAR, and can you imagine if Jim Goodwin's future comes down to a VAR decision? It's Andrew Dallas.
Incredible. It's been an incredible week for Jim Goodwin, and I guess for Hibs as well. You look at the situation with Kevin Nisbet yesterday. Just to be clear here, Roger, it's all very catchy. El Sakio, El Sakiko. I've seen it spelt different ways. It's starting to stress me out a wee bit. I feel like we need to all agree on some sort of style guide on how it's said and written. Is that actually the case? Does both of these managers, are they out of a job if they lose, or are people exaggerating this?
I think it depends how you lose, Gordon. I think Jim Goodwin was probably fortunate to survive that defeat in Darvel. That's one of those things that managers very, very seldom come back from. It's like the 9-0s. If you remember those 2 9-0s earlier in the season in the same weekend, Jack Ross and Scott Parker paid the penalty. You don't come back from 9-0s. It was the same Mark McGee when he lost his job as Aberdeen manager a few years ago. And I think if you lose to a 6th tier team in the Scottish Cup, it's very, very, very difficult to come back from that. So I think anything short of a positive result for Aberdeen today and Jim Goodwin could be in bother. Lee Johnson, I think that's slightly different. I think if you're selling Ryan Porteous and you're showing you're willing to sell Kevin Nisbet and you're clearing out all the rest of them as well, it's very difficult to suddenly sack the manager as well. Where does that leave the club? So I suspect Lee Johnson will probably be around for a period of time to come. But saying that, if Aberdeen come here and win as convincing a scoreline as Hearts did last Sunday, the pressure will be on Lee Johnson.
So there we are. You panellists in the studio, it's not El Sakio after all.
Well, yes, it might be. It's an utterly cynical world, Scottish football.
So you think Lee Johnson gets the sack if he doesn't win today? I just haven't listened to him yesterday. It just doesn't seem that way.
No, it's the beginning of the end for him.
Yeah, okay.
But with regard to Jim Goodwin, what happened in midweek with the statement from the Aberdeen owner Dave Cormack was not a vote of confidence. Of course it wasn't. It was a decision to make Jim Goodwin a human sacrifice. You put him up today and you say that you want an immediate improvement. In the meantime, you're scuttling around in the background looking for Jim Goodwin's successor. This is just a holding operation on Dave Cormack's part. And Jim Goodwin, an honest man, knows he should have been got rid of after the Darvel result and can't quite understand why he wasn't got rid of. But he'll, of course, protect his position for as long as is possible. He's very fortunate today. There's no Porteous for Hibs because he's gone to Watford. There's no Nisbet because of whatever happened at Millwall, and we don't know the full story. He's on the bench. It's even worse for Jim Goodwin if he doesn't win today. I know Aberdeen's form's been terrible away from home, but if you can't beat that lot, minus their best attacker and their best defender, you really are in bother.
What was your take on the statement, Roger, from Dave Cormack?
It was just one of the strangest statements I think I've ever seen. Everyone we spoke to Tuesday and Wednesday were convinced Jim Goodwin was away. I think Jim Goodwin was convinced that Jim Goodwin was away, Gordon, and the statement was baffling. It didn't really give you the belief that the Aberdeen board have the belief in Jim Goodwin and his backroom staff. But listen, it's going to be a very interesting week if they can get through today. They've then got back-to-back home games midweek and next Saturday against St Mirren and Motherwell. That maybe offers them a bit of a chance to get himself some redemption before they go to Celtic Park in their game after that, Gordon. But I just tend to think, Hugh described Lee Johnson as the beginning of the end. I think the beginning of the end for Jim Goodwin with some of those results and performances post-World Cup. Think of the criticism he got for the way they set up for the home defeat to Celtic, the way they lost 2 goals in the 95th and 97th minute to lose to Rangers, losing with 10 men at St Mirren, losing again to Rangers, and that Anthony Stewart, another red card in the semi-final, and then to put the tin lid in it all, Darvel on Monday night. That is the biggest shock in 150 years of Scottish Cup football. I think it's very hard to come back from that.
And where are we then on the Kevin Nisbet story yesterday, Roger? It was quite something. Lee Johnson conducted his press conference. He was talking as if Kevin Nisbet was gone, spoke about being a big loss and trying to reinvest the money, and then came the news that he had a change of heart. That's the official line. Now lots of people, Hugh and Cammy, were being ever so cynical last night, saying, well, chances are Millwall are offering you good money, so where does this change of heart come from? Is there another club that's ready to pounce? Is there some other reason that hasn't come to light yet? But either way, he remains a Hibs player. Will he still be one at the end of the window?
I'm not convinced he will be, Gordon, to be honest with you. Why do footballers make moves in their careers? They do it for financial reasons mainly. That's why Ryan Porteous has left Hibs to go to Watford, because he'll be on a lot more money. Kevin Nisbet could have gone to Millwall on a lot more money, so you would suspect that there's maybe someone else in the background. They now know what it would take to get Kevin Nisbet out of Hibs, and if they can maybe pay him a little bit more than Millwall were willing to pay, that might be the attraction for Kevin Nisbet. I'm far from convinced he will be a Hibernian player beyond the end of the window.
OK, let's leave them there then. Those 2 big games, Rangers St.Johnstone and Hibs Aberdeen. We've got 3 other crackers as well to feature for you this afternoon, and we will go around those grounds next. And now just a quick note from our podcast sponsor Lookers, the new name for Taggarts across Glasgow and the West. We are proud to announce that Lookers is now the new name for Taggarts. Taggarts has been part of the Lookers Motor Group for nearly 20 years, and over time, being part of one of the largest multi-franchise dealer groups in the UK and Ireland, has helped Taggarts to provide a great customer experience, value and choice to their customers across Scotland, and that's something that will never change. And now, they've decided though to change the name above the door to move forward as one. You'll find the same great service and friendly faces you've come to know at their Jaguar, Land Rover and Volvo showrooms, working hard to give the best experience every time. You can now browse and shop online for your next car at lookers.co.uk and choose from thousands of used cars in stock with home delivery available. You can also discover the latest new car offers, book a test drive and book your next service online. Although the name has changed above the door, everything else is staying exactly the same, and you can still expect the same great service and friendly faces when you visit in store. Lookers, the new name for Taggarts across Glasgow and the West.
I started to lose hope of ever finding the one, but then I saw them online. We met in person and they looked exactly like their photo. As soon as they touched my face, I knew we were made for each other, and I just couldn't believe attractive, well put together glasses were available elsewhere.
Don't fancy the frames at your opticians? Specsavers is available. Bring in your prescription and get 2 for 1 from £69 with single vision lenses to the same prescription. Ask in store for details.
Yakult. Billions of bacteria on a mission to spread good vibes. With their unique bacteria on a perilous voyage into your gut. And scientifically proven to reach the gut alive. Yakult, the little bottle on a mission.
Action as it happens. And your reaction from 5 on the open line. This is Clyde One Super Scoreboard.
Hugh Keevins, Mark Wilson, Gordon Daziel all in the studio. We've got the top team around the grounds, and what a day it is going to be, because we've already covered off Rangers v St.Johnstone, a full debut for Todd Cantwell, and Hibs Aberdeen. So many storylines involved at Easter Road, the future of both managers, Dave Cormack's statement, Ryan Porteous is gone, will Kevin Nisbet follow? At Darvel last week, it is all there, and an absolutely fantastic fixture to look forward to. But the beauty of today's fixture card, there is something riding on every game. The Smythe Stadium's another great example. St Mirren against Motherwell, and David Friel is there.
Yeah, Gordon, I don't think it's quite as dramatic as Easter Road, but I think it's fair to say both managers could be doing with a win. The good news for Motherwell fans ahead of the game is that the signing of Riku Danzaki has finally been confirmed. He's signed a 2.5-year deal, but the bad news is that international clearance hasn't come through in time for the Japanese winger, so he misses out. He's actually standing 20 yards away from me, beanie hat on, big jacket on, looks freezing, but he's taking in the delights of Paisley as we speak. There's another blow for Motherwell boss Stevie Hamill as well. Mikael Mandron scored 2 goals at Arbroath last weekend. He picked up an injury in training yesterday, and he also misses out, so Kevin Van Dien comes in for him. As you said, Motherwell are without a win in the last 8 league games, but at the risk of jinxing it for yourself, Gordon, and so many Motherwell fans out there, this is their lucky ground. They're the only team to win here in the league this season, way back in the opening day of the season when Stevie Hamill was just a caretaker manager, and they're unbeaten in their last 8 visits to Paisley, stretching back to May 2015. Stevie Hamill actually played for Motherwell that day. It was a 2-1 defeat. Scott McDonald was sent off for basically chucking an elbow at Thomas Riley, who we saw playing for Darvel on Monday night, so a long time ago. Motherwell obviously took a lift from beating Arbroath last week, and I think this game will have some added spice, so much on the line. But also St Mirren manager Stephen Robinson will be facing his former club, and there are no fewer than 5 ex-Motherwell players in the St Mirren side. As I said, St Mirren, such a good home record. They're unbeaten in 11 home matches here, and they're looking to return to the top 6, but they actually only have won 1 in their last 10 league games. So while the narrative, sorry Hugh, is that St Mirren are having a good season and Motherwell are having a bad one, Motherwell can actually move within 4 points of St Mirren if they win today, so much riding on it. St Mirren have made 3 changes from the Scottish Cup win over Dundee last week. Ethan Erahon, Greg Kelty and Alex Grieve are in for Declan Gallagher, Keanu Bacchus and Jonah Ayunga. Trevor Castle down goals, usual back 5, Ryan Strain, Marcus Fraser, Alec Gogic, Charles Dunn, Scott Tanzer. Midfield 3 of Greg Kelty, Mark O'Hara and Ethan Erahon, with Alec Grieve and Curtis Main up front. Subs for St Mirren are Urminski, Gallagher, Richard Taylor, Kenny, Flynn, Fraser Taylor, Offord, Jameson and Ayunga. As for Motherwell, they've made 2 changes from Arbroath. As I mentioned, Mandron's out with injury. Kevin Van Dien comes in, and Connor Shields, who's interested in a few clubs in the Championship trying for a loan move, replaces Ollie Crankshaw on the wing. So Motherwell back 4, Liam Kelly in goals, Matt Johnson, Shane Blaney, Ricky Lamy and Paul McGinn, who'll play at left back. Midfield 3 of Callum Slattery, Sean Goss and Blair Spittle, with Connor Shields and Stuart McKinstry supporting Kevin Van Veen. Subs for Motherwell are Oxborough, O'Donnell, Crankshaw, Solholm, Cornelius, Tierney, Dunnicky and Ross. The referee at the Smythe Stadium is John Beaton, and the VAR is Grant Irvin.
You see, I expect Roger Hanna to hold a disciplinary hearing now and have the boy Friel up in front of him for the use of the word narrative. But in the meantime, what a chance for St Mirren to leapfrog Hibs today in the league table after Hibs lose to Aberdeen. That would put Hibs in the bottom 6 and St Mirren in the top 6. So that's the incentive. That's the narrative, in fact.
You would have, it's mad that both teams would have chosen to play the game in Paisley, Gordon, because St Mirren's home record, as David says, is good, and Motherwell's away record is much better than their home record. So
yeah,
it certainly has the feel of a fixture that should be close on paper. And as David says, the league table, it's not a massive difference. Yeah, I reckon most of you responsible tipsters this afternoon would be going for St Mirren.
Not really. I just wonder that last week's cup win against Arbroath away from home, I know it's a Premier League club against Championship, but we all know getting up there how difficult it is against a Dick Campbell side, well organised, and they come through that with flying colours. And somewhere along the line, you need a turning point in your season. Stevie Hamill might just look at that, but as you correctly say, going to St Mirren will be a difficult game. They're not in great form in the last 5 games, you've got to say. I would sit in the fence in this one this afternoon. I think both teams are capable of winning, of course I do, but I think it'll be a draw.
Yeah, St Mirren 3 draws and 2 defeats in their last 5. Motherwell 3 draws and 2 defeats in their last 5. Lots to get excited about. Let's hear from the management then. Former Motherwell boss Stephen Robinson.
We're very much concentrating on ourselves. Our performance first half was under par against Dundee. We were better in the second when we made changes and we were more aggressive higher up the pitch. But look, I'm looking to continue the good home form. 11 unbeaten, we want to make that 12. The only team that's actually beat us at home is Motherwell. So against my old club, it's be nice to see everybody after the game. But first and foremost, 3 points to push us back into the top 6. There is a togetherness. I think the fans understand the parameters we're working under and how hard the players are trying for them. So to keep that bond together, to keep that win and run, we're desperate to.
Yeah, Riku Danzaki signed, as David Friel says, this morning. International clearance not through on time. Still no call to you for you to be the one that, kind of shows him round Motherwell, like a player liaison officer sort of thing.
I'd probably expect it later on. Obviously business was getting done today. I was at my way into the studio, so maybe a call tonight, tomorrow, and I'll certainly help Motherwell as I could, and
take
look
him down
after
to
the
Wetherspoons tonight and try and get him
No,
settled into
we
the
go
local
higher.
area.
We go higher than that. I've got a lot of good
Alan
places
Burrows
to
will have spoken to the player by this time and said there's a guy that lives over there.
A wanted picture up in the dressing room. Do not approach this man.
They call him the Dazzler.
Yeah.
Don't go anywhere near
His window's always open. Don't go near it.
You'll see him hobbling around the local town. Let's hear from Stevie Hamill.
We're still confident of having a successful league campaign. I understand the games are coming thick and fast, and it's important we pick up as many points as we can as soon as possible. It's I think a couple of additions is going to help us do that. Again, it's not going to be easy every week. I'm going to say the same thing. It's going to be a difficult game. This week's no different, but it's important we take that togetherness and that competitiveness that we're speaking about and showcase that in the match day.
Right, here's the thing. If Easter Road is El Sacchio and Paisley is the Stephen Robinson, Keith Lasley derby, the Global Energy Stadium with Dave Galloway is the Wimpy derby. Because I got a message from Simon, a Kilmarnock fan, this morning, quite rightly pointing out, wait for this is the revelation you've all been waiting for. There are 2 remaining Wimpies in Scotland, one in Dingwall and one in Kilmarnock. So there was only one man that we could possibly send to the game. It's Mr. Wimpy himself. Take it away, Dave Galloway.
Thank you very much, Connor. I am most honoured. Just to celebrate, I had a big and mighty, one of their new creations. Basically, it's a bit of everything in a bun. Very nice indeed, though.
Much like yourself, Dave. A bit of everything. Take it away then. What are you expecting on the pitch today?
Thank you very much. Well, obviously a huge game for the Premiership's bottom 2, Gordon. It's so tight at the wrong end of the table, with Ross County propping up the rest, just 3 points behind Kilmarnock, and also Dundee United and Motherwell. County on a dreadful run, no league wins in the last 7 games. Then they got knocked out of the Scottish Cup last weekend by bottom of the Championship, Hamilton Accies. Now, Kilmarnock have made the 204-mile trek up here as the only top flight side without an away win this season, but at least they squeezed through in the Cup at home to Dumbarton a week ago and saw off Aberdeen last month at Rugby Park, so they are in better form than their host. This is a real 6-pointer here, if ever there was one. To the teams then, and 3 changes changes for Ross County. In come Iakoviti, White and new boy Brophy, who starts up top, of course. Out go Edwards, Olegby and Owuru. So it's Laidlaw in goals. Back three of Watson, Iakoviti and Baldwin. Randall and Harmon, the wing backs. Then in the middle of midfield, it's Callaghan, Danda and Kenna, with the new look strike force up top. Brophy and White leading the line for the Staggies. Substitutes for Ross County. Team lines have just blown away in the breeze. Excuse me.
Nothing worse. 2
seconds. No,
don't
it's
you
here.
worry. You take your time. Carry on.
Got it here. Thank you. It's Monroe, Cancola, Sims, Loturi, Hewula, Tilson, Samuel, Smith and Stones. For Kilmarnock, 3 changes there. Mackenzie, 4 changes, I beg your pardon. Mackenzie, Jones, Waters and Vassell are in. Out drop Armstrong, McInroy, Murray and Lafferty. So Hemming in goals. Across the back, Wright, Mayo, Taylor and Waters. Then midfield, Mackenzie, Polworth, Power and Jones, with Robinson and Vassell up front. The subs: Walker, Alston, Sanders, Lyons, McInroy, Donnelly, Alabiozu, Doidge and Lafferty. And your match referee here is Chris Graham.
Looking forward to that one. Ross County Kilmarnock, big game at the bottom. You just wonder, the signing of Eamon Brophy, is that can be the type of signing that keeps Ross County up? You look at the league table, it tells you scoring goals is a major issue. They've got 15 in total in 22 games, which is, I think, 4 fewer than Kilmarnock, who are the next in the struggling line. Mark, everyone else has got much more than that, so clearly finding the net's been a problem.
Well, they need a goal scorer in, and they never really replaced the work that was done by Hungbo and Regan Charles Cook, and that's been Malcolm Mackay's problem this season. Now with Brophy on paper, it looks a good signing and the partnership sounds good, Brophy and White, but Brophy needs to rediscover the form that he had a couple of years ago, because things haven't been going great for him so far. Maybe he just needed a change of scenery to rediscover some of his best form. Malcolm Mackay will be hoping for that this afternoon.
An amazing stat that Dave took from inside the big bun there, about Kilmarnock being the only team in the Premiership not to have won an away game this season. So would you leave out Kyle Lafferty under those circumstances? Probably not, but Derek McInnes has, so it's a bold move by him.
Right, forget those lineups. How's this for a selection? David Friel has just sent me what the big and mighty from Wimpy is that Dave Galloway is eating, right? It's a quarter pounder with a pork bendy. Do not ask. Do not ask. Yeah. Bacon, 2 battered onion rings, grated cheese, more onion apparently, and Wimpy ketchup in a white bun. 950 calories, Dave Galloway.
It was delicious.
Honestly, what a pre-match preparation for that man. Anyway,
it's Mary Berry we need in here.
Listen, I'll tell you, for a number of reasons, because the next game we're going to is attracts a more sophisticated clientele, and the reason that we picked Fraser Wishart there, it's obvious, because he fits in perfectly there as well. There will be no big and mighty. We're maybe talking like a cheese board or something, a bit more sophisticated for Partick Thistle against Hamilton Fraser.
Yeah, it's a boy from the south side of Glasgow like myself, very sophisticated, fits in at the West End. You're right, no Wimpy's around here. Far more likely to be a cappuccino and a croissant, but it's back to league business for these two teams after wins in the Cup last week. Both get through in penalties, and have got good draws in the last 16. Jags are Ibrox and Hearts are going to be the visitors to New Douglas Park, so both those games will bring in some much needed revenue for both the teams. But on the park, I think the manager will be hoping that the wins will keep the good form going onto these league games. Aki's also won their last league game against Morton, so John Rankin with the victory against Ross County last week, just hoping to keep the good form going. Different priorities though till the end of this season. Thistle still in the hunt for the title, but will want at least to be in the playoffs for promotion come June to the Premiership. And it's been a while since they've been in the top league, and I think the fans will think it's about time they were back there. It's been a difficult season for Accies though. A couple of years ago they were in the Premiership and had a long run in the top division, but John Rankin simply now, his job is to keep Accies in the Championship itself. It's at the bottom of the table, 4 behind Arbroath and 8 adrift of safety, who are Cove Rangers, who of course after last night another heavy defeat are doing their best to give Accies that chance of catching them. John Rankin's brought in a lot of young players to the squad. It's always been their way, and the board has stuck by him, which is good to see. But a few new faces today to add to the squad. Loan from down south, and young Connor Smith is on the bench. He's highly thought of at Hearts, and he'll get a chance to improve his game between now and the end of the season. Ian McCall got a strong squad, plenty of Premiership experience, but he's got a young bench as well, plenty of injuries, and a number of players out, likes of experienced players like Scott Tiffany, Cammy Smith, Brian Graham, Stephen Lawless, all in attacking areas. They miss out today, so I think that Ian McCall might just want to squeeze some money out of his board from that cup game at Ibrox later on this month to get a player or two in before the window closes for that promotion push. They've been a decent run of form since the 6 defeats in a row in November, which was a really poor run. 1 defeat in the last 7, so Jags fans, I think, will fancy their chances today of getting all 3 points. Just one change from that victory against Dunfermline last week for Partick Thistle. Scott Tiffany says out injured, and Ross Docherty, the skipper, comes back into the starting 11. Jamie Snedden's in goals, a back 4, Jack McMillan, Aaron Muirhead, Kevin Holt and Harry Milne. Midfield 3, Lee Hodgson, Ross Docherty and Stuart Bannigan, and Kyle Turner, Danny Mullen and Aidan Fitzpatrick up front. The young bench, David Mitchell, Billy Owens, James Lyons, Xander Kennedy, G. Stevenson, Gallagher Lennon, Jamie Taggart and Rico Diak for Accies. Just one change after that great victory against Ross County. Chris McGinn drops to the bench, and experienced centre back Dan O'Reilly comes into the starting 11. Ryan Fulton in goals, Fergus Owens, Dylan McGowan and Dan O'Reilly at the back. Across the middle, Tom Sparrow, Scott Martin, Lucas Debola and Matthew Shields, with Andy Winter, Jean-Pierre Teehee and Lewis Smith up front. Their subs: Jamie Smith, Michael Doyle, Brian Easton, Dario Zanata, Dylan Stevenson, Connor Smith, Chris McGinn and Ryan Oney. And the referee today at Firhill is Greg Aiken, and of course no VAR, thankfully.
Thankfully, Fraser Wisher hates it, doesn't he? You can tell every single week he'll have a more traditional afternoon out there in the Championship. We'll go back around 2 of the main games that are going to take place at 3 o'clock. So much intrigue around Hibs Aberdeen. Lee Johnson's been asked pre-match about Kevin Nisbet. I'll give you his answer and further build up to Rangers St.Johnstone next.
The team with the biggest support in Glasgow and the West. This is Clyde One Super Scoreboard.
Mark Wilson, Gordon Daziel and Hugh Keevins are in the studio. The top team are around the grounds because we have got some fantastic fixtures to look forward to this afternoon. Andrew McLean is keeping an eye on all things Rangers against St Johnstone, and it feels, Andrew, like the Rangers fans will be excited to see Todd Cantwell from the start, but also maybe wondering when he's going to be joined by a new signing. Can you feel both of those at the same time?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, it is a very interesting situation when it comes to transfers with Rangers, because Michael Beale, who speaks very openly about transfers, was saying at the start of the window that, you know, he was hoping to bring in, he said at times 2 or 3 players, he said at times 3 or 4 players, and at one point he even said, look, my work is done, it's now up to the club to sort the negotiations. He felt he'd had the discussions with the players he wanted to bring in and was kind of almost expecting them to be in the door. He said a couple of times, you know, would expect people to be in the door this week, and then said it again the following week, but it's not really happened. We've seen, you know, names being bandied about, the likes of Nicholas Raskin, who Rangers are interested in, the same as Morgan Whittaker. There have been bids that have gone in, but neither player has been able to become a Rangers player as of yet. You can see where Rangers are coming from with Nicholas Raskin. They're not wanting to be held at ransom. His contract is up at the end of the season. He's sort of been frozen out at Standard Liège at the moment as well, because he's not signing a new contract there. So Rangers not wanting to pay over the odds when they could get him for free in the summer, but he's not signed a pre-contract with Rangers at the moment. And Morgan Whittaker, a lot of reports that another bid has been rejected for him as well, the Swansea forward. So Rangers fans will be hoping that by Tuesday's deadline that players will be joining Todd Cantwell, but certainly they'll be excited to see Todd Cantwell out here from the start today. Michael Beale speaking about him before the match to the right holders, just saying that, you know, he's an important player for the future, but he's an important player for now, and that's why he's keen to get him straight in the starting lineup and playing in this match today. Yeah, Roger Hanna, what's your take on Rangers transfer business? Should fans be preparing for no more business to be done? Do you still think there will be? Has Michael Beale's tone shifted throughout the window? These are all the sort of questions that were coming up last night on the show.
I don't think you can criticise Michael Beale for his openness and his transparency. He's just telling the supporters how it is and sort of managing expectations, if you like. I certainly wouldn't rule out a move for Raskin before the transfer window closes in midweek, Gordon. It's just beginning. You see these types of deals in every window. You know, there's been a couple of bids rejected, and each time, you know, Rangers will go a little bit higher, his club will probably come down a little bit low, and it wouldn't surprise me at all if there was something done before Tuesday night. Morgan Whittaker, as the window goes on, they're becoming less and less convinced that Whittaker will arrive at the club, but we'll just have to wait and see. I think patience has been the watchword for Rangers supporters right through this month of January.
Yeah, absolutely. I suppose there are a couple of days left after this game. They've got big midweek fixtures as well, so going to be busy on and off the pitch. I think that's an absolute certainty. Just on the subject of transfers, I suppose, David Friel, there's an update of sorts from Celtic today, or it certainly looks like Georgios Giakoumakis is closer to that exit.
Yeah, Gordon, it's becoming a bit of a saga. Yesterday it looked like it was Atlanta United, then it looked like it was Urawa Red Diamonds. This morning it now looks like it will be Atlanta United again. I think they were initially wanting a loan with an option to buy. It looks as if they'll come back in with a kind of deal worth around 3.5 million up front, plus I think it's 800,000 in add-ons. It would take it to about 4.3 million. So Georgios Giakoumakis does prefer a move to America. That's where he wants to go. I don't think he was overly keen on going to Japan, but if that was going to be the best deal on the table, he was going to take it. But it does look as if he will be heading to MLS now. But there's been twists and turns in this one, so until he's pictured somewhere with the scarf above his head, I would always say there could be a final twist to come.
It's again surprising for me that it's came to this with Giakoumakis, and I think a lot of Celtic fans will be disappointed. Just the price tag that David was mentioning there again is very, very low when you consider what Giakoumakis has done over the past couple of seasons, not just at Celtic. If you think Kevin Nisbet was going for £2 million and his contract was running out, for Celtic to get as little as £4 million for Giakoumakis, it's a steal for whoever gets him.
Look, that's maybe one we can elaborate on, because we are here until 6 o'clock. So once the games kick off, we'll look at all the other topics doing the rounds. We'll of course check in on the open line as well. But for now, let's focus on today's games just as we get a bit closer to kick off. I don't know how this will make Aberdeen feel, but Arthurlie have just pulled it back to make it 2-2 against Darvel from 2-0 down. So Arthurlie showing Jim Goodwin how it should be done. Hugh Keevins.
Jim Goodwin should pay no attention to that game and should expunge from his mind any recollection of Darvel and Monday night, because it was shameful. People don't say what they ought to say now.
3-2 Arthurlie.
Right.
Got to think those Darvel players are still hungover.
Yeah.
Well, like Aberdeen, they were away from home.
Too much nonsense given to this. It would be disrespectful to say this and disrespectful to say that. Aberdeen shamed themselves on Monday night. It was, for Scottish football in general, a disgraceful result and performance. There is no room for looking for the soft touch here. It was shameful and a disgrace,
and that has been reflected by some artwork in the Aberdeen end at Easter Road. Roger Hannah.
Yeah, there's been a banner unfurled behind the goal where the Aberdeen players are warming up. Goodwin out is the message from a group of Aberdeen supporters. It is not a huge Aberdeen travelling support this afternoon. Many, of course, made that long journey down to Darvel on Monday night, and that would be a very long journey back home. But certainly there's a group at the front of this section of Aberdeen fans making their feelings known to Dave Cormack and the Aberdeen board.
Yeah, interesting environment. I suppose these things are not like unheard of.
I repeat, the man's been put forward as a human sacrifice. Dave Cormack has put a human sacrifice in the dugout at Easter Road today. The Aberdeen fans know that there should be a change of manager. Everybody knows there should be a change of manager, and the statement was a holding statement while he looks for another one.
Are the members of the football monitoring board, or whatever it was called, there? Roger Hannah, is Dave Cormack taking his seat? Is he elsewhere?
Well, I've been trying to monitor the football monitoring board, but I can't actually quite see them yet. The posh seats, as you know, Gordon, down in front of the press box here in the main stand at Easter Road. No sign of them yet. No sign of the Hibs directors either, I have to say. And the early news we do hear, though, is Lee Johnson's predecessor here at Easter Road, Sean Maloney, seems to be back in gainful employment this afternoon as manager of Wigan Athletic, and it's to be hoped he lasts longer than he did here and lasts longer than poor old Kolo Toure. 59 days, 9 games, no wins.
I thought you were going to make a joke about Sean Maloney playing a big number 6 up front after what happened in the cup draw last Sunday that you took such glee in. But we'll leave that one there for now. Lee Johnson has spoken before the game. Roger Hannah, he spoke about Kevin Nisbet and how sometimes players don't get the right vibe when they go to a club. We also explained that he had a dead leg anyway and hadn't trained, and that's really what's behind the omission from the starting 11 today.
Yeah, and I would imagine he's also told Harry McCurdy on Wednesday or Thursday, you're getting a start up front, Harry, so he probably didn't want to go back on that. It'll be interesting to see if Nisbet gets on, what condition he's in, if he gets on, and what sort of reception he gets if he gets on as well, because it's very interesting when he was down in London, he had a look around Millwall, and as I said earlier on, Gordon, I'm far from convinced he will still be a Hibernian player when the window closes.
Yeah, one worth watching. Does Kevin Nisbet come on and score the goal that keeps Lee Johnson in the job for now, then leave, or does he stay, and does Jim Goodwin pay the price? It's set up to be a cracker.
If Kevin Nisbet has a dead leg and hasn't trained and has been in London and come back last night, why has Lee Narrative put him in the team at all? Put him in the bench?
Had a dead leg and didn't train, so
he's obviously fit to come on and play. Do you
and
know
as Roger says, until 4 o'clock, 2 o'clock yesterday afternoon, you've lined your team up, you've done your shape, you've done your preparation. Harry McCurdy plays, so that it was.
Yeah, I think it'd be very unfair at that short notice just to say Nisbet's back, he's playing, out you go. But it's all about decision making.
Place is a shambles.
3 o'clock kickoffs are very, very close. We will go back to Ibrox next.
The winning team all season long. This is Clyde One Super Scoreboard.
4 fantastic games in the Scottish Premiership, big games throughout the remainder of the divisions as well, and they are minutes away from kicking off. So let's go back to Ibrox and take us up to kick off with Andrew McLean.
Yeah, the team's just making their way out the tunnel here at Ibrox. I'll give you a recap of the teams today. 2 out for Rangers, Lundstrom and Sakala dropping to the bench. In come Glenn Kamara and Todd Cantwell, who makes his debut for Rangers today. In goals, Alan McGregor. The back 4, James Tavernier, Connor Goldson, Ben Davies and Borna Barisic. The midfield 3, Ryan Jack, Glenn Kamara and Malik Tillman. Todd Cantwell and Ryan Kent supporting Alfredo Morelos up top. St Johnstone, just the one change for them from that defeat to Rangers last time out. Stevie May dropping to the bench. Nicky Clark coming in, so Remy Matthews in goal for them. The back 4, James Brown, Liam Gordon, Andy Considine and Adam Montgomery. The midfield 5, Dre Wright, Cammy McPherson, Melker Hallberg, Daniel Phillips and Conor McLennan. Nicky Clark starting up front. The referee, Willie Collum, and the VAR is Nick Walsh. But all eyes from a Rangers perspective today will be on Todd Cantwell. I'm sure many people remember his breakout season in the English Premier League in the 2019-20 season. 6 goals he got for Norwich in that campaign. It looked like he was one of the next big breakout stars of English football. Fees of £40 million being touted for him, moves to the likes of Liverpool and Chelsea, but his career really did hit a bump in the road, didn't it? He talked about being affected by off the field problems, that he was in need of a fresh start, and today is the start of that. Michael Beale, he'll give him the freedom to roam and create. I was actually listening to Marvin Bartley on this show during the week, and he was saying when he played against Rangers when Michael Beale was the first team coach, he described our midfield rotations as frightening, and I wonder if this is an introduction of, the introduction of Cantwell, could that be a step towards the return to that, along with the reintroduction of Yanis Hadji, who's back on the bench today after 372 days, over a year out of action for him with injury, potential arrivals as well in the midfield area. Of course, Nicholas Raskin and Morgan Whittaker have been talked about. So a big day for Rangers, a big day for Michael Beale as he looks to continue that unbeaten run, but a big day for Todd Cantwell, who will be looking to make an impact on his debut. He's just walking around now giving high fives to his teammates. Number 13 on the back, an unusual number for an outfield player to pick. Certainly it's unlucky for some. He says he's a big believer in making your own luck. He says that he wanted to pick a unique number because he wants to leave a legacy behind when his days at Ibrox are over. But today is his first day at Ibrox. He's out on the pitch, he's ready to start. Ryan Kent is standing over the ball, and we are ready to go at Ibrox.
Clyde One Super Scoreboard Goal Flashes with Clyde Built Home Improvements. Trade accounts available now. Call them today.
Really looking forward to this. This is the great thing about Scottish football, because I was really looking forward to last week, and the Cup did not disappoint. It was magnificent, but absence makes the heart grow fonder. We've got back to league business, And what a day in store, Hugh Keevins.
Yep, and the flawless predictions are that Michael Beale has put Todd Cantwell in his side from the start today because he knows St Johnstone are easy. So it's a home win for Rangers. Jim Goodwin, in spite of the banner saying Goodwin out, will be Goodwin in at 5 o'clock because Hibs have nothing at the back, nothing up front, and mediocre in the middle. So it's an Aberdeen away win. St Mirren will beat Motherwell and go into the top 6, putting Hibs into the bottom 6. Partick Thistle will beat Hamilton Accies, and Kilmarnock will get their first away win of the season at Ross County.
He's on one today, isn't he? I can just tell.
Yeah,
he's in one of these unforgiving moods.
He's not shutting up today.
He's in one of those unforgiving, cynical moods.
He's had a strong coffee.
He's had ham and cheese on his sandwich this morning. He is raring to go.
Yeah,
anyway,
I'm with him all the way. I think Rangers will beat St Johnstone. I think it'll be an easy day for them. I think Jim will get a much needed win at Easter Road today, because I look at the quality in the two squads and Jim's picked a strong side. It's about time these players helped him out a bit. I think it'll be a draw though. St Mirren, Motherwell, Thistle will beat Hamlin, and Kilmarnock will pile on the misery for Malky Mackay up there in Dingwall.
Remember the date, 28th of January, my granddaughter's birthday. Happy birthday, Olivia. Here's a prediction.
Can I just say that to her before you come out?
I did, but I had to give her a wee mention.
It's cheaper than a card, isn't it? I mean, it's cheaper than buying a car.
Exactly, mate. Yeah. It's cheaper than buying a present.
And our birthday can forever be associated with 4 rotten predictions.
No,
this
is, and I've studied this. Rangers, surprisingly. I'm going for Hibs. I'm going for against the boys. I think I don't think Aberdeen players have got the character to pull.
Does that end in Jim Goodwin's departure?
Yeah.
Wow.
I looked at an Aberdeen team that even at Darwell they had no character about them at all. I wouldn't like to be standing that dugout today thinking my job depends on these players out here. So I'm going Hibs. I'm going St Mirren, Motherwell, a draw. I'm going Partick Thistle, and I'm going to go for Brophy, Ross County to make an impact and get a win.
The big wimpy, the pork bendy celebration or whatever it was. Things you never wanted to hear on a Saturday afternoon. No goals yet going in around Scotland. We've got great fixtures down the leagues. Our featured championship match, as you well know by now, is Partick Thistle against Hamilton Accies. But I love the look of Dundee against Queen's Park. That has knock-on effects at the top of the championship. Of course, Ayr United did their bit last night, a 5-0 win.
Where are they in the league now?
Cove Rangers. Airdrie have taken a 1-0 lead against Alloa. Callum Fordyce with the first goal in Scotland today. Ayr are second in the table now.
Come on,
and, Paul Hartley's got a job in his hands.
Certainly has. I mean, I think everybody thought that Paul would come back and it'd just be a quick fix, but obviously there's a malaise set in there at Cove that they've not been used to in the last couple of years. He has got a big job to get that right.
Goals are shipping.
I know. I mean, for years,
all credit to Lee Bullen.
I've got to be. But for years, Cove bought ex-Premiership players coming down the ranks, and they filled, and it was easy for them going through the divisions. It is different when Hugh's mentioning Ayr there and Lee Bullen's side coming up against those players.
I think Cove would be an easy job to figure out. You begin there and just concentrate on your defence. They've lost 47 goals.
Yeah, it sounds easy. 47
goals. Well, I'll tell you what, I know they lost 5 last night, but if you're decent and you can go and organise and get a couple of players in the window, surely you're going to stop that league.
Look, it's too far away. You don't want to be going there. You don't want them getting promotion, so they can stay where they are.
West Coast bias and all that in full flow. Right, the only goal is that goal at Airdrie in Scotland, so certainly nothing in our featured matches at the moment. Either a scrappy start in Paisley between St Mirren and Motherwell. So many former Motherwell employees in the St Mirren ranks, right from Keith Lasley to Stephen Robinson to Mark O'Hara and Charles Dunn and Curtis Main.
That's how we've got the top reporters all around the country watching these games. A scrappy start, St Mirren and Motherwell, 4 minutes on the clock.
Well, what's wrong with that?
Good for Jim Duffy. Clyde won.
David Friel, a scrappy start.
Needs that.
Yep.
Big couple of games coming up for Jim Duffy. Martin Rennie has put Clyde 1 up on Dunfermline. All Rangers in the first 5 at Ibrox, but nothing created so far. Tanzers had one over the bar for St Mirren. Kilty had a shot blocked from a long throw, you can imagine. St Mirren are a fair old unit, and they will look to put the pressure on Motherwell from those types of situations. It was a scrappy chance for what it's worth, says David Friel. Let's do this, Hugh, to give us some time.
The first half teaser
with the scottishsun.co.uk/football for the best football news and opinion online.
This is a blatantly ageist question. Name the 8 oldest Scots who scored a goal in the Scottish Premiership era. Now, that era began season 2013-14. Name the 8 oldest Scots who scored a goal in the Scottish Premiership era.
I like it. I really like it. At Clyde SSB, because some of them will roll off the tongue or the pen or the phone keypad, describe it how you will, but a couple of them really tough. Really, really tough. Get your guesses in. At Clyde SSB, you need to put all 8 down on one tweet. It's quite an ask from you this afternoon. Put all 8 down on one tweet and send it over to at Clyde SSB. There's nothing better than when you make a new January signing and he comes straight in and makes an impact. Todd Cantwell started at Ibrox today, but George Oakley has put Morton 1 up against Arbroath.
Well, they played well last week,
no?
didn't they? Well, yeah, Morton played well last week for 15 minutes before they got undone by a terrible decision. They bring in Oakley and they've started well again this afternoon against Arbroath.
First Rangers chance though. Tillman wins the ball 20 yards out, slides it through to Morelos. Tight angle. The shot was saved and out for a corner. David Freely's upped the description now.
Is it good?
Yeah,
I like that, David.
He's gone from scrappy to spiky.
See, I like that.
Says Stephen Robinson looks in a spiky mood. Hugh Keevins is berating the ref. Looks wound up, much like yourself today.
I don't like happy people. Get in about them.
I think that'll be a good game. I think there's a lot of good games on the cards today. I really do. And you mentioned the one, the Championship, Gordon. I'll be keeping an eye on Dundee and Queen's Park. That'll be a cracker.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all happening in the Championship. It's often the place to be for drama. And
I'm just thinking your CEO at Motherwell, Stephen Robinson, getting spiky. We're not going to have any confrontation, are we?
A slap of the sleeve.
I wouldn't have thought so. Surely he'll be trying to stay out of that sort of stuff now that he's on his
way out
of the job.
Few steps
or maybe,
down.
maybe he wants to go out with a bang.
Is that progressing in any way? Is he just happy to sit there?
He did say he would stay until a replacement was found, didn't he? So I think Alan Burrows, I think it's all gone a bit quiet.
Who's looking for his replacement? Is
that
interview?
Sorry, no, I don't think you're suitable.
You're not as good as me.
No, it's suitable.
You chucking a CV in?
No, my days of that are gone. I think I'm quite happy to sit here with you on a Saturday.
Do you think I'd make a good CEO?
No.
Get into them. Have you used that team talk that you
Yeah.
did moments ago?
I don't like happy.
I think you're still
inspire,
trying to brush up and try to make a good pundit, mate.
Low blow. With friends like these,
I know.
That was a joke, you know that.
The family that hates together stays together.
Yeah, see the amount of guys out there applauding me just now. Thank you for your support.
Since you asked, Alan Burrows is just next to David Friel and he's calm at the moment. That doesn't tend to last for
that
long.
won't last long.
No, we'll see what happens. Still waiting on our first goals. McKinstry's had a shot blocked from 20 yards from Motherwell. That Rangers corner came to nothing. Good start, Partick Thistle. Harry Milne, couple of crosses causing problems. The goalkeeper, Partick Thistle, Jamie Snedden, he's not had a touch in the first 5. So.
Nice story at Thistle. Lee Hodson coming in, and the Thistle fans are paying his wages from now until the end of the season. That was a club that had internal strife not so very long ago, but the fans are paying Lee Hodson's wages. That's really supporting your club.
Nah, it's great, isn't it? I mean, the Bristol fans paid to get rid of you, did they not, Mark Wilson?
Certainly did. I wasn't a firm favourite done there.
Pay your contract up.
Well, they did. Well, funny enough, it's FA Cup week in England, and it was always a big hope of mine to play in the FA Cup, because it was a big occasion back when I was younger. Watched the final, and I finally got my chance against Blackburn away, and within 5 minutes I gave the ball away, square pass, Blackburn went and scored. In about 50 minutes I got subbed to the applause of the fans. Yay!
The Bristol fans?
No, the Bristol fans.
Oh, the Bristol?
They applauded me, huh? Aye.
As in, like, applauded the decision to remove you.
Yeah, it wasn't it was one of the
way. It wasn't a thanks for your efforts today.
Was that your last game?
That was my last game in the FA Cup.
No, was your last game ever?
It might have been my last game.
Let's look that up. Was Mark Wilson's last game at Bristol an FA Cup tie against Blackburn?
The good thing is it's not far to come from Blackburn up to Scotland.
No. But I used to sometimes travel with the manager at that point, so it's no way. It's a great journey. I remember.
What do you think of my performance today, then, Dale?
My first away game was against Nottingham Forest, and we got beat. And then I think the second away game was against Barnsley. We got beat, and I'm travelling with Dale
On the way back
road.
to Scotland?
Dale's driving his missus, his wee boy. I'm sitting in the back with his wee boy.
No.
I'm saying, I thought I did alright today, Gaffer, but the rest were rubbish.
The wee boy going, Dad, he's not very good.
No, bit awkward. So me and Derek got a wee back. I appreciate the chance he gave me. May have let him down a wee bit.
Now, I've driven up from on, and it's a long way. That must be a nightmare after a game. Sitting with the manager.
I know. Well, he was driving. I was in the back entertaining his son, because I didn't entertain the fans. That's for sure.
Pull out of that petrol station there. I won't be in there. I'm going in for a Dave.
Aye, awkward times. Yeah, the memories you have.
Cadden's had a shot blocked by Johnny Hayes as Hibs look to take the early lead. Brophy. And we've got a goal in the El Sacchio.
Goal flashes with Clyde Built Home Improvements.
It's a goal for Hibs.
Told
Hibs
you.
have taken the lead. Josh Campbell has been one of Hibs' main goal threats this season, you would have to say, and he has put the home side in front, much to the delight of the home fans, the relief of Lee Johnson, and the despair of Jim Goodwin. It was a tap in, Ewan with the initial effort, saved by Joe Lewis, and there was Josh Campbell on the rebound. Long way to go, Hugh. That's a very interesting start.
Well, it's very unfortunate for Jim Goodwin. I feel for him on a human level, because the Aberdeen fans are holding up a banner saying Goodwin out. He's now a goal behind, which just adds to the tension. A Hibs side who are minus their best defender now at Watford, minus their best attacker, now on the bench after his move to Millwall collapsed. And it's a horrible start for the human sacrifice. This is Dave Cormack's fault. He's a human sacrifice, Jim Goodwin.
For the record, that was your last game at Bristol.
Was it really?
Just in case you're
what
keeping
a memorable fixture to end on.
Yeah, you made the
celebration in
bench 4
Bristol,
times
wasn't it?
after that, but you didn't get
I was
off
just
of the
filling
bench.
a space.
Anyway, back to Easter Road, more importantly.
Yeah, I said at the beginning, 3 o'clock before they kicked off, I would not like to be Jim Goodwin standing there looking at that bunch of players thinking my job depends on you. I see no character whatsoever in them. And Monday, when they had to roll their sleeves up and get in about it, I know Shinnie is a different kettle of fish for me. I think he'll go out there and he'll put himself about. I've been in those shoes before, in the sense that you know that you're under severe pressure.
Oh, this is interesting, you have to say.
Goal flashes with Clyde Built Home Improvements.
Ross County 1, Kilmarnock 0, and we said before the game, can they sign a goal scorer? Can that fix their problems? And Eamon Brophy, he scored in his debut already, a tap in from across by Kenna, and Brophy is up and running, and so are Ross County.
I told you, remember the date.
Penalty, Rangers, handball in the box.
Oh no.
So I'm sure there will be a VAR check, and we'll have great fun with that for the next 6 weeks. Can't wait. But there we are, penalty to Rangers for handball.
You're on fire, Daz. Yeah, you did say about Hibs and Ross County and Brophy.
I was up very early today. I studied today for the first time in a long time, maybe 14 years, and I decided to go for it. And you can see these teams. It happened last year when Ross County had a goal scorer. They got themselves out of trouble. They get right up the league. They were performing, scoring goal. Brophy, I think, just needs a change of club. He needs a challenge. He needs a manager that's got to believe in him. He's got what a fantastic start to his career at Ross County. So, and I just, as I said, I'm harping on about Aberdeen. I feel for Jim. Everybody in this studio likes Jim, but we're talking about a football manager at a football club. I think he'll be out the job if he
James
doesn't win.
Tavernier with the penalty for Rangers.
Goal flashes with Clyde Built Home Improvements.
And he makes no mistake, he goes high into the net to give Rangers that 1-goal advantage. It was a handball. I'm sure we'll have a nice, friendly, respectable debate about that at some point going forward. But the fact of the matter is, it was a penalty. Tavernier scores it, and Rangers are up and running.
And you can add Callum Davidson to the list of worried men. This will be St Johnstone's 6th straight defeat in the Premiership, and You know, they're slipping away and slipping away. And for Rangers, I said to you, when I got here today, I was ready to forecast 4-0. Then when I heard that Cantwell was playing from the start, and you could imagine what the atmosphere would be like, I upped it to 5-0, and it's an awful start for Callum Davidson.
There was barely any noticeable stoppage for VAR to have much of a look, so they clearly were both confident, the referee and the VAR confident.
Sometimes it will be blatant. Last week at Celtic Park, it was blatantly scandalous because there was the handball decision. I was glad the first Celtic supporter who come on here last Saturday night in the open line said it was not in a million years was it a penalty. But sometimes it will be blatant.
Oh, you're right, but sometimes we also act like blatant ones aren't and dubious ones are blatant, and round we go.
That's why I love it here.
Yeah, it's great. It's what a place. Rangers 1, St Johnstone 0. We've got another goal at Easter Road.
Goal flashes with Clyde Built Home Improvements.
It's a double from Josh Campbell, and Hibs are 2-0 up inside 10 minutes, and that Goodwin out banner will be getting some use in the Aberdeen end. I wonder how Dave Cormack is feeling at the moment. It was a flying header from a Joe Newell corner, and Hibs are 2-0 up on Aberdeen. And Motherwell had started the brightest in Paisley, but
Goal flashes with Clyde Built Home Improvements.
St Mirren have taken the lead, and it's Curtis Main, a former Motherwell striker, who's scored for the Saints. So all the home teams in front in the Premiership, and things could get very interesting Easter Road.
I salute Gordon Dalziel, who said that he in fact that the man who predicted a Hibs win, and also said, I would not like to be in the trenches with these Aberdeen players because of the character deficiency that is their problem. Now it's a test of Dave Cormack, because Jim Goodwin won't come back from this, and the owner of the club will have to be asked, what did you mean by immediate response? Did you mean if you don't win at Easter Road, the manager's out? Or will he try and pull a fast one and say, well, when I said immediate, what I meant was, 2 or 3 weeks? It's now a test of Dave Cormack, because the ball is now firmly in his court.
He won't survive that, Hugh. Let me tell you right now, he won't survive that unless and it'd be a complete miracle, and I hope it is for Jim, because as I say, I respect Jim, I like Jim. Unless his players can give him something back, go out there with a draw or get something, a remarkable comeback. He walks out of there this afternoon, he ain't been the Aberdeen manager next week.
They're at home on Wednesday. They have St Mirren, I believe, at Pittodrie. Now that's simply an open air demonstration now.
I'm going to describe the Josh Campbell goal as a long range header, Mark Wilson.
Yeah.
Is that fair?
Yeah, and I think it epitomises everything about Aberdeen defensively, because let's give
it's a great header though.
Let's give Hibs credit, because they've started incredibly well, a team that's under pressure as well, and the corner is one that's been worked on the training ground. It's driven to the edge of the box where Campbell has a run at it and nobody picks him up from 25 yards, and he heads it just inside the penalty area. So it's a shocking goal for Aberdeen to lose. Good goal for Hibs, well worked on, but that just sums Aberdeen up.
And bad start for Stevie Hamill, Hugh, and Gordon. They had started the brighter, they'd settled better, but then Curtis Main is sharper. It was a low cross, he nicked in at the front post, and St Mirren, with their good home record, are in front.
It was always going to be the way, wasn't it? A former Fir Park player would do the damage, at least with regard to Motherwell. There's hope. You just get the impression with regard to Aberdeen there is no hope. This is a literally hopeless situation.
I'd rather be fifth though, for what it's worth. I have to say, Dumbarton won, Bonnie Rigrose now, Greg Wild with the goal, Montrose won, Kelty Hearts won. It's that old goal getter Rory McAllister.
Listen, Dave
from
Galloway,
the penalty spot, and Airdrie 2, Alloa 0, Callum Gallagher with the goal.
Listen up, Dave Galloway. Big Duncan Ferguson is a goal up at Shrewsbury with Forest Green, a team who only eat vegan food. His first game in charge, and the vegans are 1-up. Dave Galloway,
did you see all the stuff, the pictures with the chairman, and he just looked,
it's awkward,
like a man in
for
the wrong
man.
movie.
It's a awkward
they were asking him to describe global warming at one point.
Could you,
Big Dunk,
Could you imagine he has a real bad run of results and the chairman's got to go in and sack him? I'd send somebody for the board in.
I'd do it by letter.
I'd phone him.
I liked his scarf. His scarf looks like something you would wear.
Now I'll tell you what, it
weekends.
must have been a heck of a week for those Darvel players celebrating, because they've lost 3-2 at Arthurlie. They were 2-0 up. Talk about back with a bang. Because to be fair to Mick Kennedy, he was in here on Tuesday talking, about the seriousness of having to get back to business soon, because they want to win that West of Scotland Premier Division. They want to try and get into the Lowland League. The night against Aberdeen will live long in the memory, but they need to get promotion.
Yeah, but in the long run, that, as much as it'll hurt this afternoon, that might be a good thing for them. It might just bring them right back down to earth. They'd have went there, all the congratulations, all the pats in the back, and that's what happens. Thinking, we beat Aberdeen, we've had all the publicity, bread and butter stuff now. It might just be a good thing.
Arthurlie's social media team have anything about them, they'll get onto that right away.
We've got one of these.
VAR review with Clyde Built Home Improvements.
Having a look for a penalty to Motherwell in Paisley. So we'll need to see what the verdict is on that. Play on. Ricky Lamy was claiming he doesn't get it, and VAR says play on. Rory McAllister's got a double now and throws 2, Kelty 1. And we'll get another look at that one, I'm sure, in Paisley, and see if there's any drama attached to it. But play on for now.
Worrying times for Jim. I know it could hardly get much worse, but it could. When you're 2 down with 20 minutes played and the traffic is going one way, this could turn out ugly. Chatting about character in the players, and you're putting the team out there and expecting them to keep your job. Well, this is real character. These Aberdeen players, an awful long time to go in this game for their own personal futures, never mind the managers, because if another manager comes in, which they will, I mean, what do you say? Oh, it wasn't me, it was a manager that got us into this position. They will analyse this performance from this
Morelos
team.
has gone through 1-on-1, but Parish rushed out to the edge of the box, saved the shot, and away it goes for a corner.
Your problem at Aberdeen is that Dave Cormack got rid of Derek McInnes. Then he thought it was a great idea to bring in Stephen Glass. That went well. Then he got rid of Stephen Glass and picked Jim Goodwin, and that's gone the way of Stephen Glass. So you're now in the hands of a man whose judgment is deeply suspect.
Hugh, the only thing I will say, if Jim's got any sense at all and he's thought this out, he's done what I achieved at Somerset. Park your car right at the front door, half time, if it's not going well, right out the door.
Inches away from a penalty to Hibs as well. It was a free kick right on the edge of the box, so it could have got much worse in it. It may still do, but it's going to be from a free kick after a Johnny Hayes handball. There's a man who we know well and was in good form and would have been looking at a return to the Scotland setup. Ross Stewart stretchered off for Sunderland, so we wish him well. He's already had injury problems.
Do you know what? That's really sad, because there's always a chance he could have moved in this window.
You're right, there was talk of big money, wasn't there, in the next few days. So
it'll be interesting to hear, Roger, at half time, if Aberdeen don't get a goal or anything, what the Aberdeen's fans' response. I think some of them have left the ground already, so they've given up. Look, it's still, the next goal could be so important to give Aberdeen a lift. But as I said, as much as Jim came in for criticism, and rightly so, on Monday, I sort of spare him a little bit, because I don't care who the manager is. You've got the quality Aberdeen had in the field. You've got to do better as an individual and as a team.
Where are we? Anything else to discuss? Not right now. Let me give you so let's do wrong answers to the teaser, Hugh. That seems like a good opportunity.
Okay. Right, the question is, name the 8 oldest Scots to have scored a goal in the Scottish Premiership era, which began in 2013-14.
Okay, Gordon Hendry has covered some good ground, but let's do some wrong ones. He's thrown in Stephen Fletcher.
No.
Mark's thrown in Clint Hill. Scots.
No chance you
Who was that?
Oh no, and he said Stephen Davis.
Gordon Hendry's gone. Andy Considine.
No, not Andy.
I think this is going to be really tough for many people to round off all 8, maybe without looking some up. Has anyone got all 8 yet? Oh yeah, they have.
Really?
Let's see here. Yeah, lots of people are forgetting the non-Scots here. Bailey's thrown in, Davis and Johnny Hayes and Kyle Lafferty.
Switch on.
I know.
Sean White's fallen into a similar trap. Come on, read the question again, Hugh.
Yep. Name the 8 oldest Scots to have scored a goal in the Scottish Premiership era, which began in season 2013-14.
Yeah, so let's keep them guesses coming at Clyde SSB and see if you can get yourself on that podium. Get in touch, please. Just thinking about Easter Road, I think was it Roger Hanna who touched on it earlier, that Sean Maloney's the new Wigan manager. Interesting.
Good to hear that. Aye, mixes with you, Gordon, and a couple of days later
that's what happens.
he gets the job.
Again, on the subject of dodgy judgment, you've got old Uncle Ron Gordon at Easter Road, who brought in Sean, gave him 19 games and then sacked him, and brings in Lee Johnson, who was in danger of going into the bottom 6 by 5 o'clock tonight, but I think he's doing enough currently to make sure they do stay in the top 6, because they're playing the bottle merchants of the Granite City.
And Sean Maloney going into an environment, Gordon, where the previous manager got 59 days.
Yeah, it doesn't fill you with confidence, does it? Obviously there's a lot of work to be done. Hopefully he'll have learned by his experience at Easter Road, Gordon. I always believe that good managers, you do have bad times, and that's where you learn, get a bit of experience, know that you're not going to make the same mistakes again. It'll be an interesting appointment. I'll be looking out for that one.
He's well loved there. 4 years as a Wigan player, won the FA Cup with Wigan. Now it's a real test of Sean, because even I would not been a manager after 19 games. And Ron Gordon added insult to injury by saying they knew long before the end of the 19 games that they were getting rid of him. So this is Sean's chance to show that Ron Gordon was in the wrong.
Kennedy fires over from the edge of the box in a rare attack for Aberdeen. Michael Beale's looking a bit frustrated now. A few attacks breaking down for Rangers. Remember, the breakthrough came from the penalty spot, so maybe not quite the fluent attacking performance he would have been hoping for. No real news of Todd Cantwell's debut yet, but we will, I'm sure, get more of a detailed picture between now and the end of the afternoon.
Be interesting to see what role he fills. We were chatting about it midweek, and some caller said that he would fill that right hand side as a winger, and I was of a different opinion. That I thought he would be one of the more attack minded midfielders, and Sakala would occupy the right, or someone else, an actual winger. But I wonder how he's fitting into that role, or is he coming inside and playing close to Morelos? Be interesting to hear about it.
Yeah, I'm sure Andrew McLean will fill us in, and it's all very fluid apparently. Mostly sort of 4-2-3-1 with Tillman and Cantwell between, rotating between the right side and in the middle. But kind of moving around, which is something Michael Beale and Stephen Gerrard's midfield did a lot. If you look back to that spell, 34 years ago today, apparently.
34 years ago.
What you were up to?
Yeah.
Someone's told you this already.
I don't know what I was up to 34 minutes today. Never mind 34 years. Was I getting married again? Because it's a Saturday.
It's a Saturday night.
Normally a Saturday I'm up for a good wedding.
34 years ago today, Wraith Rovers won, Rangers won at the Scottish Cup, and you scored a bullet header before Ian Ferguson cancelled it out.
Not surprised there. I do remember that one.
Seen footage yet? There's nothing weird on seeing this guy playing football. Because it was a diving header and you barely see him move nowadays.
I think you would have me up on your wall, by the way, if
you in my pocket if I was playing against you.
Absolutely no chance, mate. You are done.
Disgusting.
You had an easier chance in
levels.
So
I didn't have an easy chance. I'd have buried that as well.
The Pen sent me the footage, and you had a header in the 6-yard box in the first half that you duffed. But
Seriously?
But in the second half,
I was warming up,
powerful
mate.
Diving header. Keeper couldn't anywhere near it.
I would score second. I usually took me time to warm up, get the stretches going the first half, and then I would burst into life with a hat.
I don't know why the keeper goes down in his knees and
unless
your header goes straight over his head right enough.
Who was the keeper at that time?
Not sure.
What year did you say it was?
89, January 89.
Chris Woods? No,
just before I was born. If that makes you feel older.
I don't know if it was Chris Woods. Nicky Walker, maybe.
I don't know.
Ex-Motherwell goal.
There's a real Wraith striker's just scored.
Exactly. Lewis Vaughan, 29 minutes on the clock. Wraith Rovers won. Inverness 0.
Go and stick his goals down to mine and multiply them with 10. He still ain't getting near me. So it doesn't really matter.
Rangers
Then
have
he
a
scores.
free kick 25 yards right of centre. Barisic takes, and it is saved by Remy Matthews.
Well, it seems to be one-way traffic, but not always in a fashion that pleases the manager. But one-way traffic, and they'll get there in the end.
Hibs are looking good. I don't know if it's just because they're playing against Aberdeen, but you look at McGeady since he's came back here and since he's been fit. I mean, he looks like he's lost about 10 years.
Was
He's
it
still
Fir
quick.
Park? I thought he was brilliant.
Still quick,
First
still
half,
sharp, creativity. Just one of the, by the way, one of the best players. One of the best players ever played alongside and played against. Hard man to keep tabs on when you're playing against him.
Shifts it so quick, doesn't he?
That's
Whether it's a cross or a shot, he's always been good at that.
You know what? I used to love it in training when I was pitted up. Pitted up against him, because it just made you a better defender. But he's always had that. I used to play with him in Glasgow schools teams. He was in primary 5. We were primary 7, so he was always younger. But he always had the the same level of skill. And he just developed that, and then he worked in his pace. And look up now, what is he, 35, 36, and he's still churning at it.
Motherwell causing problems from set pieces, but still not managing to find the breakthrough for the Steelmen. They're 1-0 down, remember, to St Mirren, so Stephen Robinson will be looking to add to that.
I was just thinking about the point you made earlier, Dazzler, about the Aberdeen fans and would they be going home. I think they will stay just to protest, because they've got the Goodwin out banner, and if the game does end in defeat, they will stay to protest, not against Jim Goodwin because he's the human sacrifice, but against the men who took the decision to leave him there.
It was the only thing that disappointed me here. They didn't have the banner, they just held up red cards. You didn't even make an effort to get me out.
I think that's more an effort, because they have to get a whole load of red cards. Otherwise you could just get a white sheet and get one guy to paint it and everybody to hold it. So you get an individual red card. That's more an effort. So you were more hated.
No, well, about 6 months later, the amount of them that went to Hampden as supporters in the semi-final was brilliant. I didn't see the red cards of the banners then.
St Mirren free kick 20 yards out, fairly central. So they'll be looking to add to their goal advantage in our championship game. It's still Partick Thistle with all the possession, but no clear-cut chances yet. Aki's dropping deep, trying to see what impact that fantastic cup victory against Ross County and penalties will have for the Akis. Can that give them a shot in the arm? I know they had got a couple of results of late. Strain, who's got a good free kick record for St Mirren, Tanzer as well, both standing over this, taking their time, and straight at Liam Kelly. So
the next goal in that game has got to be vital. If St Mirren get it, I don't think Motherwell will come back at all, but I think Stevie Hamill will be looking at that and thinking, we need to make sure we get this next goal or we're in trouble here. That's another one that, up until last week against Arbroath, and I said that it was a terrific victory, and I know that people go, well, it's Arbroath, they're sitting ninth, they're not having a great championship this year, but it's always a difficult place to go, and they won it comfortably.
If things stay as they are, the bottom 4 teams will all be on 20 points come the end of the afternoon.
Well,
and that's when it really becomes nervy.
Yeah. Kilmarnock under Derek McInnes, you thought would be okay. He's a fine man.
Straight red card for Nicky Clark, former Rangers player, back at Ibrox in the blue, this time of St Johnstone. It was a sliding challenge on Ryan Jack. The follow through didn't look too clever, and he's been given a straight red card. So St Johnstone are a goal down and a man down as well. Nicky Clark shown a straight red card.
How is your luck, Callum Davidson? It's bad enough you're a goal down at Ibrox, but with 10 men against 11, I mean, obviously we cannot see it, we cannot speak about whether it was a justifiable red card or not. However, it has been shown and the players are off, and that just makes it an even longer afternoon for St Johnstone.
Are you comfortable with your 5 now, Hugh?
Well, I mean, if I don't get the 5, then that's Michael Beale's fault, not mine.
Rangers' task has just been made that bit easier then. St Johnstone down to 10 men. That James Tavernier penalty about 15 minutes or so ago now though, maybe even more. And Rangers haven't managed to find that second, haven't come overly close. I've had some openings of course, as you would expect, but James Tavernier's penalty, 1-0 up, and Nicky Clark sent off for St Johnstone.
Nothing better, is there, when you're 1-0 up at home and the opposition get a man sent off in the
I
first
thought you
half.
meant Nicky Clark.
No, it's nothing better. You go, this is an easy afternoon now. We'll start enjoying this game rather than the pressure on our
Straight
shoulders.
down the tunnel, so the VAR looks to be as convinced as the referee. No need for any major assessment of what had gone on. That's Ryan Jack only getting back to his feet. He was in a fair bit of pain initially, so he's getting back to his feet. I think he'll be okay. And Nicky Clark makes his way for that early bath. First ever red card for Nicky Clark. People say
knowledge.
he's not that type of player. People always say that, and it means absolutely nothing, of course,
No.
because
But again,
if it's an offence, it's an offence.
You were talking, Gordon, about the bottom four all in the same number of points as things stand, and the list of troubled managers. Derek McInnes, Malky Mackay will still be in the relegation zone. Callum Davidson, that'll be 6 defeats in a row in the league. There's trouble piling up. Jim Goodwin may not be the Aberdeen manager by the time we all go to bed tonight. Trouble piling up for a whole group of people.
I think most of the managers are saving themselves just now. And by looking at that, if you look at the league, we're nearly 22, 23 games in. Seven or maybe around about 7 teams have lost more than half.
Yeah.
So there's nobody. You've got Rangers, Celtic, Hearts, Livingston are brilliant. The rest, you couldn't pick what they're going to do because they don't win games. You look at that table there, the bottom 6. There's hardly a green W on it for a win between them, and I'm talking about the 6 teams.
Yeah. Just one thing worth bearing in mind though, because this is radio, not everyone has the colour-coded league table that you've got on the window.
But I described the green W. Now it's quite easy to figure out. Green for go, W for win.
But you say that as if people
Green
can
for
see
what?
it.
Go.
That's it. Yeah.
Callum Davidson's been booked for his protests, so he was not happy with the decision. Not
That's
necessarily
interesting.
like him. Yeah, he's quite mild mannered usually.
Unless
Callum Davidson.
the pressure's just mounting on
It must
Callum.
be. It must be Hugh. He must be feeling the strain. And then after last week with the whole stand fiasco, I know it's not his call, but he still has to manage that situation.
Ryan Jack's just been booked for a late challenge with St Johnstone players surrounding the referee, adamant that he should be sent off, just like Nicky Clark was for a tackle on Ryan Jack.
The open line's going to be good tonight. I can sense it. This is my type of grumpy day.
The only thing I say about St Johnstone, I don't think MD expected them to get anything. They'll still have a little bit of a gap.
What about the 5 games before that though?
But what I'm saying
Where
is,
they've lost in a row.
I'll give you a bit more information. The bottom 6, there've been 30 games, right? 30 games in the bottom 6. There've been 3 wins in 30 games. So would I press the panic button? No, I wouldn't, because he can turn it around like most sides. You happy with that bit of
Great
stuff?
information.
Thank
Well
you.
done.
But it's the case that Callum Davis is not that type of guy to get involved with officials. But either the pressure of the 6 defeats in a row is telling on him, or we would have to see the incident and judge for ourselves whether Nicky Clark has been harshly dealt with.
We will. It's died down a bit, I guess, at Easter Road, Mark Wilson.
Yeah, it has been because the Aberdeen goalkeeper isn't under much pressure, but Hibs, the majority of possession, the traffic is still going one way. There is no respite for the Aberdeen backline, really.
Right, that Ryan Jack tackle, remember the one?
Yep.
Ooh.
VAR review with Clyde Built Home Improvements.
So he's going to the screen.
Which
Is
is
Willie
means-
Collum, which tends to mean
It's Willie Collum.
Willie likes,
Ryan Jack.
Willie likes a good red card.
Well,
doesn't
remember, someone will have told him that you should come and look at this on the screen. It's a team effort.
Well, it
in
should
that
be fresh
regard.
in his mind what Nicky Clark had just done, what that tackle looked like to compare it to. So it should be simple enough for Willie to
Nick
determine.
Walsh is the VAR, so he's in the ear of Willie Collum saying you might want to come and take a look. Willie Collum's still looking. Now this will be interesting because people say I wish the referees would make their own mind. Don't always give it if you go to the monitor, but if he doesn't give it when he goes to the monitor, now people will say, look, this is ridiculous.
I know.
And there you are.
He hasn't
give it.
Play on.
Well,
no red card for Ryan Jack.
Again, we haven't seen it, so we can't comment. But
you always say you want to see that happen, don't you?
Yeah. I think you've got to have a strength of character about you. Because you've been sent to the monitor, it does not mean that you have made a mistake. However, with Willie Collum, it's impossible to second guess that particular referee.
The only thing I'll say in that, in Willie Collum's defence, now we've not seen it, so I'm not saying red or not red. Willie Collum is a more experienced referee than what Nick Walsh was. Right? He's more experienced. So he may look at that, and he's obviously looked at that differently and thought, I totally agree. I think that the referees have still got to referee the game. As much as we're all thinking, the minute it goes to the monitor, it's a red card, penalty kick, it's this or it's that. Willie Collins went there and said, thanks for directing me over, but I don't see that as a red.
The first one, Gordon, the actual sending off for Clark, was that an instant decision from Willie Collum, or did he get called over to the monitor?
No, he didn't go to the monitor for that.
So it was a red card, okay, and VR obviously looked at it and
agreed.
Yep. And then this one, it was VR flagged. Okay, right.
I'm telling you, the open line, we can just enjoy ourselves for an hour because we know what we're talking about now.
Yeah, we're good. We'll go around in circles for 60 minutes, I'm sure. The yellow card stands for Ryan Jack, so we'll see if he survives the rest of the afternoon. You can be absolutely certain if he has any other misdemeanour, the St Johnstone players will react quite energetically, shall we say.
You might see at half time Ryan Jack being removed.
Yeah,
perhaps.
Michael. Well, a booking
taking
and then
players off.
No, he's been
every half then.
Well,
every first half.
I think that Michael Beale would be like everyone else at Ibrox. Minute Willie's went to the monitor, Ryan Jack's coming off. So he might just say to himself, there's no need. We're against 10 men.
It's only a booking challenge then.
It's just, it's not like he gets
you're just whipping people off for the sake of it.
No, I'm not. I'm being very cautious this afternoon. I don't think there's any need to run the risk. You're playing against 10 men, you're 1-1-0.
Let's just take everybody off. It's been booked.
I didn't
in.
say everybody, I said one person. You're starting to exaggerate, Mark.
Well, the next person that gets booked, let's get him off as well.
I noticed that Arsenal did it last night against Man City. They had the player on a booking and they thought he's away unless we take him off.
This is where the difference lies, Hugh. Arteta, DL against Wilson. You know what I mean? Said it all.
Arteta can have handled the hedge. There's no way. When you get a ball lost in the hedge, Arteta would have lost his mind.
He used to stick his hair on the Brecon hedge.
By the way, it looks very similar.
Let's remind ourselves of your teaser again, please, Hugh.
Okay. Can you tell me the 8 oldest Scots to have scored a goal in the Scottish Premiership era, which began in season 2013-14? The 8 oldest Scottish players to have scored a goal in the Scottish Premiership era.
Hugh, would Johnny Hayes be one of them, Mark's asking?
No.
By the way, I've written down more Irish players than I have Scots.
Jordan wants to throw in someone who'll have scored recently, Robert Snodgrass.
Snoddy, no.
James McFadden.
Well, they were all down south when this was happening.
Yeah, well, McFadden came back, I suppose, but he's not on the list. Kirk Broadfoot.
Are you kidding?
I am not. Tanser volleys over from the edge of the box for St Mirren. Robinson's missed a sitter for Kilmarnock. It is all heating up, but keep your guesses coming, please, at Clyde SSB. There is still no one in third place on that teaser, so get thinking. I do have sympathy for you. I think 8 is tough. I think it is tough to get them all, but let's see what you can do. Ryan Kent's fouled right on the edge of the box, so Rangers looking to take advantage of the free kick, unless VAR pops up and tells Willie Collum it was actually in the box and on will go.
From a football perspective, if I were Michael Beale, I'd be thinking 1-0 and it was a penalty and nothing since, and we're playing 10 men. Doesn't look great.
I think you're right in that, Hugh, because I think the Rangers fans going along do expect, or did expect, a big lift in performance levels, and I think we're yet to see it. I know Cantwell coming in, they would have hoped that he might have been the one to spark something. Doesn't sound like it so far.
It's interesting because sometimes it feels like the more predictable outcome is a new manager goes in and people say, well, you know what, I can see that, you know, the style, it's looking better, the style's starting to get better, and the results will follow. Michael Beale's gone straight in, just fixed the results completely. Barely, well, doesn't lose a game yet, one draw on his record. But maybe you know, taking a bit longer to get them as fluid as he would like.
Well, I don't see much changed apart from the resilience of the team and the character in terms of coming back when they lose goals, because under Van Bronckhorst,
sorry, good save from a Tavernier free kick.
Yeah, under Van Bronckhorst it just didn't happen. You'd fancy Rangers to go on and lose some of them. So that's the only thing that's really changed. Style, formation, I don't see it. Maybe Rangers fans will call up and say something different this afternoon.
To be fair, one step at a time.
6 minutes to be added at Ibrox. We have had a fair few stoppages. Half-time whistles starting to go down the leagues. So let's do this, Hugh, while we can.
The first half teaser
with the scottishsun.co.uk/football for the best football news and opinion online.
The 8 oldest Scots to have scored a goal in the Scottish Premiership era: Kenny Miller, Chris Burke, Stephen McLean, Charlie Mulgrew, Gordon Greer, Keith Lasley, Stephen Thompson and Lee Miller.
I thought that was extremely tough. Well done. Oh, hold on before we go any further on that.
Goal flashes with Clyde Built Home Improvements.
It's Hibs 3, Aberdeen 0 just before the break. Ewan's header from the corner. The Aberdeen fans are wondering, can you sack a manager at half time? Because Jim Goodwin is bang up against it here. Hibs 3, Aberdeen 0.
Well, there are no circumstances under which Jim, and I regret saying this, one of the rotten things about a really great job is that sometimes you have to paint a picture about nice people that is an unfavourable picture, but there are no circumstances under which Jim Goodwin keeps his job now.
Alright, very quickly, just your winners on that teaser were no one in third place, no one else got it. Really tough question. Michael Smith second fastest, Dylan Patton was the winner. Well done to you, Dylan. We'll have a Who Am I a bit later on. What a half-time team talk this is going to be for Jim Goodwin.
What does he say? What can he say?
When the second half?
Well, he's already gave it the big speech, no doubt, before the game, and what he expects his team to show minimum, and they've been anything but that. So how can you lift that? You even look at the goal they've scored, it's just out-muscled, out-fought, a simple corner into the box, and Ewan just brushes the defender.
This is a Hibs team minus Kevin Nisbet, and they're 3 up at half time, and the Aberdeen fans, some of them are leaving.
Half time, Partick Thistle, Fraser Wishart.
It is Partick Thistle 0, Hamilton Accies 0. A really strange game. First half of complete domination by Partick Thistle with the ball, but lots of frustration for the supporters because no goals to show from their nice play in the middle of the park. In fact, no shots on target by Thistle. As Accies quite happy to defend in numbers, leaving Teehee up front in his own. Thistle started really brightly. Harry Milne on the left hand side, left back, has impressed me so far, very prominent, got to the byline a number of times, couple of really dangerous crosses cleared by McGowan and O'Reilly, and the other wing Fitzpatrick doing the same. For all that early pressure, Thistle just couldn't turn good play into chances. Really good defending in their own 6-yard box by Accies. Lovely Kyle Turner flicked his back heel from a Fitzpatrick cross, almost set up Milne, who lunged into the back post but couldn't get any contact. We passed the 30-minute mark and Thistle keeper Jamie Stendhal hardly had a touch, but the other end, despite the lots of pressure on Ryan Fulton's goal, no real saves for the big Accies goalkeeper to make. In fact, they were just quite happy to drop off, concede possession, 9 men behind the ball. Jags fans becoming frustrated, not the way the team were playing, but the lack of the cutting edge and clear chances. Lone trigger Danny Milne did get his head to a couple of crosses from the right hand side, one from McMillan, one from Fitzpatrick, but both times he flicked the ball towards the far post, but the ball just drifted maybe a yard past the stanchion. A couple of penalty claims by Jags fans, but more in frustration than anything else. And Accies hardly even near the Thistle goal, never mind actually having a go at Snedden and testing the big goalkeeper. But John Rankin, I think, will be fairly happy at the break. It's been a clean sheet so far. Ian McCall might just be telling his team keep going, because one goal might just win this for either side. Half time at Firhill, Partick Thistle 0, Hamilton Accies 0.
Sacked in the morning, rings round Easter Road, but no half time whistle yet. There is one in Paisley. David Friel.
Half-time, Gordon, St Mirren 1, Motherwell 0. Curtis Main made a difference so far with a goal against his former club. It's been a game of very few chances, not great stuff here, but the big striker scored the real poacher's goal to put St Mirren ahead at the break. It was a scrappy, spiky start, and Motherwell probably actually settled better after some early St Mirren pressure, but it was St Mirren who took the lead in 16 minutes through Main. Ryan Strain got to the byline, he's been really good. Fired in a low cross from the right. It looked like Liam Kelly expected to gather the ball pretty easily, but Main was so quick, he got across the front post and diverted it into the net. St Mirren took a lot of confidence from that. Ryan Strain had a free kick saved by Kelly up the other end. Motherwell had a fair bit of pressure, but 0 shots on goal. Trevor Carson hasn't been troubled at all. They did have a penalty claim when Ricky Lammy fell to the ground after tying with Charles Dunn. John Beaton waited for a VAR check and then laid play on. St Mirren are heading for the top 6 as things stand and will be happy. Motherwell need to be a lot better to get a result here in the second half. Half time, St Mirren 1, Motherwell 0.
It's also half time at Easter Road. Roger Hanna.
Hibernian 3, Aberdeen 0 at the break. Gordon, surely the end of Jim Goodwin's spell as Aberdeen manager. They have been dreadful in the first 45 minutes. He was given a stay of execution after the cup defeat to Darvel on Monday night, but surely he will not survive this. Aberdeen have not laid a glove on Hibernian in the first half, and they're probably fortunate only to be 3 behind. They had a couple of early warnings. Aidan McGeady firing over the top after 25 yards. Then Chris Cadden had a shot blocked by Johnny Hayes on the 6-yard line after Joe Newell's cut back. The goal was coming and it arrived after just 10 minutes. Josh Campbell tapping in after Joe Lewis saved from Eli Ewan's angled drive. 5 minutes later it was 2. Campbell again finishing, this time with a flying header from Newell's corner, clearly worked by Lee Johnson in the Hibs training ground through the week. Aberdeen hardly seen as an attacking force. Matty Kennedy had a shot over from distance midway through the half. Johnny Hayes then booked for a foul on Jimmy Jeggo. Graham Shinney tried to get something back for Aberdeen. He had a shot blocked in the box as well before being booked for a foul on Harry McCurdy. But Hibs always on top, always enjoying territorial advantage, always enjoying possession advantage, and they turned that into a third goal in added time at the end of the first half. Again a set piece that Aberdeen just couldn't cope with. Delivery into the near post, and there was Eli Ewan. He's playing as centre forward today with Kevin Nisbet only on the bench. He headed home. It sparks chance of you're getting sacked in the morning to Goodwin, who's cutting a disconsolate figure in the technical area, as you can imagine. Loud jeers from the Dons fans in the away end at the half-time whistle. There is no way back from this. Half-time at Easter Road, Hibs 3, Aberdeen 0.
Remarkable, an absolutely remarkable story developing there. It's half-time at Ibrox. Andrew McLean.
Rangers 1, St Johnstone 0, the half-time score here. A penalty, a red card and another VAR check for a potential red card is the story here so far. As for the actual football, Alfredo Morelos with a couple of early chances, both of them pretty much exactly the same. The first at an angle, Tillman's through ball, his shot was saved by Remy Matthews. Then Ryan Kent was the creator a few minutes later, a driving run before the pass through to Morelos. Once again he was at an angle, this shot was diverted out for a corner. They did take the lead from the penalty spot, the ball dropping over the head of Connor Goulton and onto the arm of a St Johnstone defender. No need for VAR. Willie Collum pointed straight to the spot and Nick Walsh at Clydesdale House agreed with the call. Up stepped James Tavernier to find the top corner for 1-0. Morelos with a better chance around 20 minutes in. He was played through one-on-one, getting in behind the St Johnstone defence, but Remy Matthews rushed out and saved his shot. Nicky Clark was St Johnstone's only effort at that point. He hooked a volley over the Rangers bar before Ryan Kent forced a stop from Remy Matthews. In a crazy few minutes, Nicky Clark and Ryan Jack going into a 50-50, but the follow through from Nicky Clark didn't look good at all. He was shown a straight red card by Willie Collum. Ryan Jack got up, recovered from that, but then flew into a challenge of his own on Adam Montgomery. A yellow card was given by Willie Collum, however he was summoned to the VAR screen by Nick Walsh. Serious foul play was the accusation, but after reviewing it, Willie Collum stuck with his original decision and play went on. St Johnstone almost equalised on the stroke of half time as well. Dre Wright was played through one-on-one with Alan McGregor. He rounded the goalkeeper, he was at a bit of an angle, but as he went to shoot, it was a complete air swipe from him. Ben Davies was back in the line, would potentially have got a block in, but it was a really good chance and he just missed the ball completely and it went out for a goal kick. The half-time whistle sounded then. It's been a pretty typical Rangers display under Michael Beale. The dominant side, but not really in full flow. The half-time score at Ibrox, Rangers 1, St Johnstone 0.
That Dre Wright chance on the stroke of half-time is unbelievable. St Johnstone should be level and they are not. They're down to 10 men. What about the Ross County Kilmarnock game, Dave Galloway?
Half time, Ross County 1, Kilmarnock 0, and new lone striker Brophy got Ross County off to the perfect start in the 13th minute. He had a very simple finish to convert Kenna's cross. That came shortly after Brophy had made space for himself, only to shoot over from the edge of the box. County were dominant at this stage, carving out some pretty good chances. From one of them, Iakoviti lashed the ball over when well placed. Killy, though, came roaring right back into it, almost equalised when a driven ball from Jones flashed right across the goal mouth, but Vassell couldn't connect at the back post. Taylor headed wide from a few yards following a free kick. Then Robinson missed an absolute sitter. It was an open goal. He was only about 4 or 5 yards out, and he somehow managed to scoop the ball over the crossbar. Waters then hit a dipping long range drive, must have been about 25 yards out. It went just over. The visitors then really taking over after that really bright start by their hosts, and they finished the first half strongly. But at the interval, just the one goal in it, and it's the hosts who have the advantage. Ross County 1, Kilmarnock 0.
What an interesting first half of football across the country. We'll do a full roundup of the half-time scores next.
The fastest goals, the expert opinions. This is Clyde One Super Scoreboard.
Half-time scores in the Scottish Premiership. It's Hibs 3, Aberdeen 0, Rangers 1, St Johnstone 0, Ross County 1, Kilmarnock 0, and St Mirren 1, Motherwell 0. In the Championship, Dundee 0, Queen's Park 0, Morton 1, Arbroath 0, Partick Thistle 0, Hamilton Accies 0, Raith Rovers 1, Inverness 0. In League 1, Airdrie 3, Alloa 0, Clyde 1, Dunfermline 1, FC Edinburgh 0, Falkirk 0, Montrose 2, Kelty 1, and Peterhead 1, Queen of the South 0. In League 2, Albion Rovers 0, Forfar 0, Annan 1, East Fife 0, Dumbarton 1, Bonnyrigg Rose 0, Stenhousemuir 1, Elgin City 0, and Stirling Albion 0, Stranraer 0. The English games today are FA Cup ties. I won't bother running through them all. We'll be here all day, but we'll get the second halves up and running in our Scottish games next.
I started to lose hope of ever finding the one, but then I saw them online. We met in person and they looked exactly like their photo. As soon as they touched my face, I knew we were made for each other, and I just couldn't believe attractive, well put together glasses were available elsewhere.
Don't fancy the frames at your opticians? Specsavers is available. Bring in your prescription and get 2 for 1 from £69 with single vision lenses to the same prescription. Ask in store for details.
Who said finding cheap motor insurance had to be hard? You can make finding cheap insurance easier with mustard.co.uk. Compare your car, van or bike insurance quickly and easily online by the team dedicated to helping you find the right policy. For an insurance quote that cuts the mustard, choose mustard.co.uk. Details online, authorised and regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority.
Scottish football's league leader. This is Clyde One Super Scoreboard.
Second half's a few minutes away from starting here in Scotland. Of course, there'll be a few delays depending on the VAR checks and all the rest of it. Andrew McLean, I don't suppose you've started. How would you describe the feeling inside Ibrox? Are they thrilled at what they're seeing, or is it a bit blunt in an attacking sense?
Yeah, it has been relatively blunt from Rangers in an attacking sense, which is something we've seen quite a lot under Michael Beale so far. He's wanting to re-energise this team. He's wanting them to have a lot more attacking flair, but it's just not really clicked again today. Todd Cantwell, it's his debut, of course, and he had quite a lot of touches early on. He was rotating a lot with the other midfield players, Malik Tillman and Ryan Kent in particular. He was seeing a lot of the ball. It was a lot of just short layoffs really as they looked to try and get through this St Johnstone defence, but he has faded out of the game really in the second half of that first half. Hasn't been involved all that much, and Rangers yet to really test Remy Matthews too much from open play. There was Alfredo Morelos was played through one-on-one at one point. It was a decent save from Matthews, and Ryan Kent had a shot from distance as well. It was palmed away by the St Johnstone goalkeeper, but Michael Beale will certainly be hoping that they can create a bit more in the second half. There was a couple of times I looked down at him when the wrong pass was played, or Rangers quite couldn't quite get in behind St Johnstone, and he did cut a frustrated figure. He had his hands in his pocket standing on the touchline for most of the half, but a couple of times just sort of threw his arm away in frustration. So he'll be looking for more from his Rangers players in this second half.
And the crazy thing about it, Andrew, is Rangers go 1 up and St Johnstone down to 10 men, and you're thinking it's going to be one-way traffic, but the Dre Wright chance at the end of the first half is a sitter of all sitters, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it's absolutely massive. Look, the game was just kind of calming down from that crazy few minutes where Nicky Clark was sent off, and then the VAR check on Ryan Jack's challenge, but Rangers just completely caught out defensively, which we've seen a few times of late as well. Dre Wright 1-on-1 with Alan McGregor, he rounded him, and at that point you just assumed that he was going to hit the back of the net, but he just got it all wrong. He was just off balance. He tried to take a swipe towards goal at the ball and just completely missed it, fell on his backside, and the ball rolled out for a goal kick. A massive chance, and St Johnstone will be kicking themselves that they didn't take it, especially down to 10 men, and it'll be something that will concern Michael Beale, because they really shouldn't be giving up chances like that at home against the 10 men of St Johnstone.
We'll work our way through them eventually, but on first glances you've seen the penalty Rangers got. St Johnstone weren't happy. Everyone knows, before we go any further, the handball rule is just a stinking mess, let's be honest. What did you make of this one?
Penalty.
Really? Okay, Mark?
I agree. Penalty kick. James Brown's hands up. He impedes the ball going behind him, obviously. So it did come off. I think it was Goldson. Was it Goldson just in front? But yeah, penalty for me.
What's your take on it?
Full house.
Wow, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Usually there's a bit of debate. You don't think the fact, does it not skip up off? Is it Goldson?
I just think I think the boys are right when they said, when you look at it, Gordon, and I feel every sympathy for MD who gets a handball in the box now, but his arm was up. Not
his
an
hand is high, isn't it? That's kind of what maybe doesn't help.
That's what gives it away for me.
We've got one of these already in the second half. That's quite a start.
Goal flashes with Clyde Built Home Improvements.
Motherwell miss a big chance, but Ross County don't, and it's former Motherwell striker Jordan White who makes it Ross County 2, Kilmarnock 0. What a start to the second half that is.
Well, that's the end for Kilmarnock, I would think, and it's a sore one because it will put Kilmarnock bottom of the league table. It would be a positive move for Malky Mackay, get Ross County off the bottom of the table, and for Kilmarnock, they're going nowhere.
Right, we're trying to do the rounds at Ibrox. So you think the St Johnstone, the Rangers penalty was the right decision? What about the decision to send off Nicky Clark?
I'm not sure that's a red card in my opinion.
No.
Gordon?
I think the referee's got that right.
What is it the follow through that causes the issue?
Yeah. I think you look at the ball, fine. It's a follow through. I think Nicky Clark, that is a red card.
I
for
think
me.
Just describing it for me, they're quite close to each other when
so
the ball breaks.
That, like, dangerous pace sort of thing.
So the follow through, I'm thinking, well, where's Nicky Clark supposed to put his legs once he's made the challenge? Now the challenge, he's went into that, but we've seen it just a couple of times.
I think his foot comes up, Mark. I really do. And
so
it's
where you want it to go?
Well, I don't
fold it underneath him.
No, I don't think you can go through the ball and still have it low, but his foot comes up, and if you look, and Ryan Jack is rolling about where he's low, he catches him very high in and just below the knee.
He knows he's done some damage because he goes straight to Ryan Jack to have a look at him. But I'm not entirely sure that yellow for sure, but a red, doubtful.
And I don't know if you've all had the privilege yet, but you will. The yellow card given to Ryan Jack, where Willie Collum goes to the monitor but then stands by the decision, which is quite rare. Should that have been a red, or is the yellow sufficient for you, Mark?
I think correct decision from Willie Collum. I thought it was nothing more than that.
Yeah, yellow for me.
I'm in between. I would like to have another look at it, to be honest with you. I've not really looked at that one, but look, Willie Collum's an experienced referee, and he's made big decisions again.
Any changes at the break, Andrew?
Yeah, John Lundstrom is the one change for Rangers. Probably no surprise who the man coming off is. Ryan Jack involved in those two incidents. Of course, Nicky Clark's challenge on him led to Nicky Clark's red card, and then it was the challenge from him on Adam Montgomery. The St Johnstone players were surrounding Willie Collum at that point, and maybe Michael Beale just felt it was best to take him out of this game and let John Lundstrom come on for the second half. But we are just about to get underway for the second 45.
Clyde One Super Scoreboard Goal Flashes with Clyde Built Home Improvements. Trade accounts available now. Call them today.
Well, Hugh Keevins, quite a few talking points in that first half. How are we set up for the second?
Well, the people will say, he's taken off Ryan Jack. It's an admission of guilt. So the open line will be fantastic because of the decisions that we have mulled over here. Again, I go back to it from a football perspective. It's not the brightest from Rangers. You know, you're playing 10 men for the majority of the first half, and now you get the entire second half playing 10 men, and they're clearly not doing enough to excite everyone. And Andrew McLean's description of Todd Cantwell's first half just faded out of the game. With regard to Easter Road, you would have to hope for Jim Goodwin's sake it doesn't get any worse. I mean, he's already in a position where he cannot be the Aberdeen manager in the next game unless Dave Cormack comes up with some other wild and wonderful statement. So Kilmarnock struggling at Ross County, 2-0 down, and will be bottom of the table. It's a tense-old day.
This is a very, very good. And now just a quick note from our podcast sponsor Lookers, the new name for Taggarts across Glasgow and the West. We are proud to announce that Lookers is now the new name for Taggarts. Taggarts has been part of the Lookers Motor Group for nearly 20 years, and over time, being part of one of the largest multi-franchise dealer groups in the UK and Ireland, has helped Taggarts to provide a great customer experience, value and choice to their customers across Scotland, and that's something that will never change. And now, they've decided though to change the name above the door to move forward as one. You'll find the same great service and friendly faces you've come to know at their Jaguar, Land Rover and Volvo showrooms, working hard to give the best experience every time. You can now browse and shop online for your next car at lookers.co.uk and choose from thousands of used cars in stock with home delivery available. You can also discover the latest new car offers, book a test drive and book your next service online. Although the name has changed above the door, everything else is staying exactly the same, and you can still expect the same great service and friendly faces when you visit in store. Lookers, the new name for Taggarts across Glasgow and the West. Let's get this up and running first, Hugh.
The second half teaser
with the scottishsun.co.uk/football for the best football news and opinion online.
This is a belter.
Wow.
I have played alongside Scott Allen and Joe Newell. I've been managed by Alan Stubbs and Alec Neil. My only major honours so far have come in Scotland. I made my professional debut for a Scottish side, but I'm not Scottish. Who am I? So I played alongside Scott Allen and Joe Newell, managed by Alan Stubbs and Alec Neil. Only major honours I've got have come in Scotland. I made my professional debut for a Scottish side, but I am not Scottish. Who am I?
Good luck. That's all I've got to say. At Clyde SSB, try and piece it all together, and then send us one name with all the correct with one name, and hopefully it's the correct one. At Clyde SSB. Brilliant question. It's
getting harder and harder.
Yeah, it's tough. That one is tough, I must admit. Very tough indeed. Any ideas so far, Gordon? You are the man when it comes to these now.
No, I need to sort of appeal this one.
He's having a good day, I've got to say. He's got a lot right today.
It's still half time, Mark. A lot can go wrong, but I'm just using my experience today. I've upped my game today for some reason.
Sounded like
I think the weather was good. I felt good coming in the car. A few tunes on. I thought I'm going to up my game today.
Tunes did you have on? Nathan Carter.
Yeah, I love a bit of
What's that other guy?
Are you still Joe Longthorne? Is he still
Longthorne? That's him.
He's no brought out a record in a lot of well.
Come on. Please don't. Anyway, FC Edinburgh 0, Falkirk 1. Gary Oliver with the goal. Do you know what I was thinking? FA Cup day down the road, isn't it? Mark Wilson was telling us
it was a dream.
His last ever game for Bristol. He got jeered off by his own fans in the FA Cup. Never played for Bristol again. Did you notice the standout fixture for tonight?
It's Man U and Reading.
It's Man U and Reading, isn't it? It is Man United against Reading.
What time's that?
Alec Ray at Old Trafford.
8 o'clock. Can you imagine prowling the touchline?
I just want to know. I want to see the look on Eric Ten Hag's face when Alec Ray gives him a mouthful.
Well, they've got the same barber, so they've probably got that in common.
At Old Trafford.
Speaking of which, he joins us on the line right now. Alex Ray, how are you?
Oh, it's all quiet there.
He's good umbrage to that comment about his hair.
I've got him, he's back. How's it going?
I'm doing okay, Gordon. Yourself?
Not bad, not bad. It just feels like old times having you joining us on a Saturday. Are you looking forward to Old Trafford tonight?
Yeah, very much so. It's almost a year since I came down. I think it's the middle of next month will be a year since I took up the position as assistant manager. So I couldn't imagine a year ago when I was standing in the studio with the Three Stooges that I'd be standing in front of like 75,000 tonight. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, when he puts it like that,
yeah,
he's in a bit of an upturn in the last year.
We bit of an upgrade
We're
there.
still sort of,
Never mind the Three Stooges. What are you going to do about Marcus 10 goals in 10 games Rashford?
Yeah, you have to say, Hugh, he's probably one of the standout players in England at the moment. He's always performances are great. We're actually just hoping that he doesn't make the starting 11 tonight. They've got a lot of big games coming up. They've got some European fixtures. They've got the return leg of the semi-final next week. So we're not exactly sure how they're going to go. But, the reserve team's not bad either. They've got guys like Harry Maguire, Fred. So, Lindelof. So they've got guys of, really good quality. So players are really excited. The majority of them have had haircuts going into tonight's match as well. So, I think most of them I think there's about half a dozen of them probably played in this fixture before Old Trafford over the course of their careers. But, we've got some young guys in the team that are going to sample for the first time.
Well, here's the thing, Alex Ray, I'm not sure how many of your Reading players have ever heard of Darvel, but maybe you could reference it just as proof that cup shocks do happen.
Yeah, I know, that was an incredible result on Monday night, Gordon. And listen, I think that's the beauty of, the Scottish Cup, the FA Cup. You often see these upsets, and this would most certainly be an upset for sure, where we are in the grand scale of things in relation to Man United. But we're all excited. There's been a real good build-up. We sold our ticket allocation in half an hour as well, so there'll be a good following coming up here, trying to get and dream, really, because I think that's really what the Cup's all about.
Is the gaffer looking forward to it? He returning to Old Trafford, of course.
That's right. It's interesting because in his pre-match against Watford, he says, listen, it's an opportunity. We might even get to Old Trafford. And then post-match as well, he says, what's the ideal tie? And then we ended up getting the tie that he was looking for. So, listen, as I said, it's an opportunity. We could have been at one of the lower clubs away from home. It wouldn't have been so glamorous. But, the opportunity coming one of the biggest clubs in the world, really, I think everybody's going to get their best shot.
And when you are standing on the touchline at Old Trafford, will you think of us at all? I mean, do you miss us ever?
Well, I know what Daznat will be doing. Daznat will be on his second glass of red. I'll struggle to be on his second bottle as well. And I think Mark will be up the top of some mountain, won't he? So,
thanks, Alex, fitness freak.
Yeah. And you know the way it works, because you like to think your pals have got your back, but every goal, if Man United manage to score them, you just know DL will be cheering them, don't you?
Well, listen, I get feedback from the listeners up the road. The two of them have been getting battering you again when we get this week against Stoke. It was a topic at a conversation. Obviously the defensive thought that week wasn't good enough and things, so I know we're coming my way for the A3 shock.
Alec, Eric Ten Hag's never known the Denniston factor.
Shock, I don't even know if you'll know what that is. But listen, the one thing you can say about him, Hugh, he's obviously come into a massive job. He's made some incredible decisions. He sent Ronaldo packing. And that takes a lot of guts, and he's actually got them going in the right direction. I think most people connected to Man United are actually pleased in what they're actually seeing. They've got a team on the pitch that are really competitive. He's getting the best out of guys like Rashford and that as well. They've got a good blend. I think the addition of Eriksen in the middle of the park as well was really good when you consider the circumstances he had to go through. How things can change in a moment, and he's now playing some of the best football of his career.
You managing to behave yourself every time you do something. The Super Scoreboard listeners send it to me. Don't think I didn't see your little set to with Jordan Hugel on the touchline. Every time you step out of line, it gets sent to us. I hope you know that.
Listen, it's unfortunate because it came from behind, Gordon. What do you expect me to do? You know what I mean? So and the worst thing is, I was really pleased when he didn't come back up the touchline because he's about 6 feet. So I was pleased when he come back up. But listen, we're scratching for every point, Gordon. I've speak to his now and critical circumstances with them. It's tough. And listen, we're all under pressure. We're trying to scratch for every point, and we're trying to kind of achieve, as best we can this year and try and keep the team in the league, due to that embargo. So, listen, we're all scratching. I'm pleased that they're still kind of keep you informed of what's going on. I know listen, extend the invite down. You're welcome to come down to Redknapp any time.
Man, well, listen, if you cause that shock tonight, we'll all be rooting for you, and we'll get you back on to talk about it on Monday. All the best.
Thanks, guys. Have a good weekend.
Good,
cheers.
man. That was Alex Ray, of course. Used to join us every Saturday, but this week he's in the touchline at Old Trafford.
I
the
think
mighty have fallen.
I think he's got the English football accent.
By the way, did you notice that?
I said that. The twang.
Not even so much the accent. He just sounded like he was trying to act just more responsible. He's a serious footballing man now.
He's left us behind, and he's got his sights on match of the day beside Lineker, Wrighty and Shearer. I think he sees himself there now. I think we've been blown out.
Yeah, I think he's deleted your number.
Wasp.
I think he's deleted.
No, he texts me every week. So no text yous.
No,
never.
I'll be able to say I used to get a lift home with him.
Yeah.
I'm actually going down to see him. I'm visiting that part of the country soon, so it'll be
Is
nice.
that next week, is it?
It probably could be. And for the next 3 months,
that'll be good.
Can you imagine him though? Can you imagine him if they cause that shock at Old Trafford? He will be
amazing.
He's the most hyper guy ever.
Yeah.
Listen, when Jose Mourinho caused a shock at Old Trafford, he would run the length of the park.
Slid down
so
the touchline,
whatever Alex Ray does is perfectly okay.
Brilliant. Well, listen, we've got enough on our plate up here without worrying about too many fixtures down the road. No goals to tell you about in the Premiership, but we did have one in the Championship, and it was a big one because Partick Thistle are behind. Hamilton Accies have gone there and taken the lead. So great start to the second half.
And Todd Cantwell missed an absolute pinch on his debut at Ibrox. Should have made it 2-0 and skied the ball over the bar.
They've had a few openings, Rangers. I think Tillman had one just shortly after as well. So knocking on the door.
At Raith 2, Inverness 1, Aidan Connolly on 62 minutes. Callum Morrison's put Falkirk 2 up at FC Edinburgh as well. So, and Hugh, the Palmerston Pep is obviously great at the half-time team talk because it was a dreadful scoreline at half-time, getting beat against Peterhead by 1-0, but they are now level, so he's inspired them at the break.
There you are. They knew he'd come good in the end. So it's still 3-0 at Easter Road. My mind, Gordon, now turns to logistics. What happens at time up? Apart from the booing, the banner going up, what will...
Hold on, Hugh Keevins.
Goal flashes with Clyde Built Home Improvements.
It's a goal for Rangers. It's Rangers 2, St Johnstone 0. It was Morelos with a clever flick through to Glenn Kamara. Doesn't score many. I do remember him scoring one at McDermott Park actually, so I don't know if he's got it in for St Johnstone, but he has scored this afternoon, Glenn Kamara, and another one already.
Goal flashes with Clyde Built Home Improvements.
A result of the day: contender Ross County 3, Kilmarnock 0. A blunder by the goalkeeper. You don't need them at any time, never mind when you're down there against your nearest rivals and you're 2-0 down. But Jan Danda, 63 minutes, County 3, Kilmarnock 0. But Rangers now looking more comfortable as well.
Certainly, I just said moments ago they were knocking on the door, created a few chances, maybe should have taken one of those, but the ball breaks kindly there for Kamara, pretty similar to the one that if Rangers fans remember
at Perth.
Yeah, at Perth, where he times his run perfectly, gets a wee bit of luck but a composed finish, and that'll be that. Ibrox, point secure.
Good play, open the defence up, good passing movement. Kamara times it absolutely perfect. Composure, goalkeeper no chance, 3 points in the bag. How many can they score?
Well, I said 5. We've got half an hour to reach 5
against 10 men.
Yes.
Yeah, so I think that's a possibility.
Entirely possible.
But I think for the Rangers fan, for Beale as well, he'll probably look at Hadji now, who's sitting on the bench, games in the bag. He's probably thinking this is an ideal opportunity to start getting him back up to speed and getting him minutes.
I wonder if the plan was Todd Cantwell for 60 minutes anyway, you know, from the start, irrespective of how he plays. We did say he's not started a game since the 2nd of November, did we say?
Yeah.
He's not played at all since the 12th, so
it's a long time. That, I mean, the fans might think that that's nothing and people can just go from training to games, but we speak about it all the time. It's just a different dynamics when you step into that environment.
Colin Hamilton's equalised for Arbroath against Morton. So they're level there at Capello after George Oakley had put Morton in front. Gordon Motherwell made some changes to try and get back into this one. Crankshaw, the new signing, and Ross Tierney on, Spittle and Shields off.
Well, I said after about 10-15 minutes to go before half time, next goal's so important in Paisley. Motherwell, if they don't get it, they'll be coming down M8 again with no points. If they do get it, then it gives them an opportunity to go and build on last week's cup win.
From what I'm hearing, there could be a closely contested competition on Monday night for Howler of the weekend, because Aberdeen might just get it as a collective. You've got Dre Wright, who inexplicably didn't level the scoring on the stroke of half time at Ibrox, and now the Kilmarnock goalie. It was a 30-yarder. It seemed like he sort of had it and it slipped out his hands, and then he stumbled into the net trying to kind of clamber out with the ball, and a disaster all round.
Well, what's not funny, Kilmarnock are bottom, St Johnstone are toiling badly, Motherwell toiling, Dundee either have Celtic to face tomorrow. There's a log jam building up at the bottom of that table, and it reflects a league that's not exactly vibrant if you look beyond Rangers, Celtic and Hearts.
Aberdeen made a couple of changes a few moments ago. Hayden Coulson and Callum Roberts came on, Leighton Clarkson and Matty Kennedy have gone off. But what an environment to come into.
That must have been a very difficult half time for Jim Goodwin, because you know within yourself, listen, I'm losing my job tonight, I ain't getting back in to look after these lads next week. Me personally, I'd have went, had a cup of tea and sent my assistant in, told him to go on with it.
Just got up the road,
phoned a taxi, got an Uber,
Princess Street, and just do a bit of shopping,
got
track it in the same car.
That's the front door. Yeah,
I mean,
just eat, on you go.
Jim Goodwin can't resign because it complicates financial matters, and Jim Goodwin has the responsibility of looking after himself and his family in terms of severance money. But I'm just interested in what Dave Cormack does now, because he's got a home game against St Mirren on Wednesday night. He's got a mutinous support.
Yep.
Dave Cormack deserves everything. I said the other night.
By the way, the Aberdeen fans were also chanting "sack the board." You know, this is not all about.
It's weak leadership. It is definitely weak leadership. I don't even think Jim would have thought on Monday night, I'm going to be the Aberdeen manager at Easter Road. He's come out with a pathetic statement. It's weak leadership. He's really thrown Jim under the bus. Now, I said earlier, you do not want to be going into your job, in a day like that with those players after seeing their character on Monday. I thought it was a poor judgment from Dave Cormack.
I heard you break the news, Gordon, on Super Scoreboard.
The statement.
Yeah. And I looked at my watch and I thought, what kind of time of day is this to be releasing? There's only one reason why they do that. They do it so that no one can contact them and ask for a comment. So they put it out at night after they've scurried away somewhere. So they really do need strong leadership at this time.
Cantwell's debut is over. He got 63 or 4 minutes. Todd Cantwell. Rangers fans, I'm sure, will be hoping they can see a bit more. I don't think it was a hugely involved debut for him, but Fashion Sakala comes on, so a change there. I think would the priority just be the game time, just getting those minutes in?
Because he did look like a player who hasn't played for a long time. Even his touch was a bit loose at times, and he did look a bit leggy, but that will come. You need to play competitive games. Michael Beale has recognised that this one is the right one. I think you mentioned that he's not going to play, or he wouldn't start his first game, should I say,
interesting. And look, we'll debate this Monday, Tuesday, but interesting to see now if he starts at Tynecastle.
I think that's a big ask.
One to ponder throughout the week. Hugh, the second half teaser, how's that looking?
Well, the question is, I have played alongside Scott Allen and Joe Newell. I've been managed by Alan Stubbs and Alec Neil. My only major honours have come in Scotland. I made my professional debut for a Scottish team, but I am not Scottish. Who am I?
What a question, and great responses as well. Scott Connie knows it's not Tony Andrew, he says, but he's going to throw Tony Andrew's name in anyway.
Good old Tony. No.
Doppel thinks it's James McCarthy.
James McCarthy is Irish in football terms.
Yeah, but it doesn't say, it just says he's not Scottish.
He's not
There we are.
No, but I just thought I'd throw that in.
Alright, thanks. J.A. Bell goes Effie Ambrose.
Effie.
I mean,
No.
what a wide range of answers we've got here. Greg's Gardens thinks it's Stephen Whittaker.
No.
Chris thinks it's Jackson Irvin.
No.
I'm waiting on my bad one coming out.
Quite a few think it's Aidan McGeady. Lewis Hewson says Aidan McGeady.
No.
My guess isn't out there yet.
Write it down then, show me. Come on, don't be shy.
I guarantee you won't get it. No, you haven't got it.
Oh, okay.
There we go. Okay, let's get back to what's happening. Whilst you get your answers in there at Clyde SSB. Some of you do have it right, but there is still time to add to that. So if you think you can figure it out, please
big
do.
goal.
Dundee 1, Queen's Park 0. That is a big goal. Ben Williamson on 69 minutes. That is a big goal indeed at the top of the championship.
Because it's, Lee Bullen and Ayr United livened things up last night with their 5-0 win at Cove. They started the day a point behind Queen's Park. If they finish the day a point behind Queen's Park, they'll be very happy with that. Dundee would move up to 38 points, a point away from Ayr United. So that the top three in that league getting very interesting.
Something about Dundee, they're just quietly going about their business. We mention Ayr and we mention Queen's Park and even Partick Thistle, but Dundee just seem to get the results when they're needed.
I think if Partick Thistle lose to Hamilton today, Mark, you can forget about them.
Big applause because Kevin Nisbet has come on for Hibs. Aidan McGeady's gone off. A bigger applause than when you were hooked at Bristol in the Cup, says Roger Hanna. So Kevin Nisbet is on, and that.
What have we got?
That's just
4 days to go.
Yeah, that just adds more intrigue to it, because if there was something completely imminent.
Yep, he wouldn't
and
be
he
on
was
the
in
pitch,
London
would he?
yesterday. He's not trained. They don't need him, by the way. They're 3-0 up.
Yeah.
I'm interested in that.
I think he'll still be there after the window closes.
Do you?
I don't know what's happened down south, but I think Gordon makes a good point. If there is something just round the corner, why would you risk him in a meaningless game when you're 3 up and he could go on there, pick up something that scuppers a move or whatever? You know the way clubs are.
I like that point.
Good chance St Johnston, and Andy Considine header, a low diving save from Alan McGregor. Sorry, as you were.
Yeah, I like the point Mark's made. If you're going to get money and decent money in for him the next 4 days, why put him on the pitch? Why risk him? So I'm with Mark. I think when the window closes, he'll still be a Hibs player.
I'm just, St Johnstone have got, as if they've not got enough problems on the park. 6 league defeats in a row, knocked out the cup by Rangers. The size of the away support at Ibrox, you would be able to fit them into a single decker bus.
Yeah, I think that's quite common, unfortunately, isn't it? Not many fans of so-called smaller teams feel the need to go and spend a lot of money and inevitably watch your team get beat, and it's maybe not a great experience. I think you see that quite a lot.
But as I say, St Johnstone, Motherwell, Dundee United, Ross County, Kilmarnock, log jam in the bottom 6. Any of them could go down.
Yeah, well, Motherwell not looking good at the moment. They're still losing 1-0. It was a good running cross from Ollie Crankshaw. Max Johnson shot saved by former Motherwell goalkeeper Trevor Carson.
What about Crankshaw? What's your assessment of him?
You got to let them settle in. You can't.
What's this, his third game?
Yeah, so
you would have seen enough of him.
Okay.
What do you think?
Well, we're not watching it. Well, we're not watching it today, and I don't think he
did enough feature against Arbroath.
Did he start against? I don't think
he started against Ross County.
Ross County, yeah.
He looked all right.
Yeah.
David Friel's got a really good endorsement, a ringing endorsement of him. He says he runs about a lot.
We've played with players like that ourselves.
That's a start.
That are great
running away from the ball.
It's better than not running.
That's the same thing as saying the only thing his game lacks is ability.
I played with players that would run about and shout "man on," so they wouldn't get the ball.
Name names.
Man on, man on. Oh, honestly, couldn't they control a balloon in a phone box? Half of them.
He's keen now. David Friel says we're really getting in-depth analysis.
He's keen.
He runs about and he's keen.
That's great.
I like that. It's getting it's improving.
Sounds like a Labrador.
The pity is he's not. The pity is he's not Roy Keane or Robbie Keane.
Exactly. Maybe we will get some sort of late drama in that one, but still St Mirren in front. We're approaching that sort of 25-20 minute remaining mark. It's tough to tell because the games are all at different stages, because you get VAR stoppages in some games don't. So we'll see how we get on. Your second half teaser is up and running as well. Don't forget, we've got 2 big games tomorrow: Livy Hearts and Dundee United Celtic. So we can look ahead to them on the open line. Please join us at 5 on 01419511025. We can look back on today's action, look forward to tomorrow's action. We can talk transfers. The floor is truly yours. Now, it's 2 interesting changes for Rangers coming up, because Hadji is getting ready. 1 year and 1 week, was it?
Yep.
Is that the length of absence, which is incredibly long. He's getting ready to come on, and so is Cholak.
I was speaking to a couple of guys in the train, Rangers fans, on the way to the game, and that's what they were interested in. Cantwell going along to see him, how he was, and Hadji. They were pretty excited about that. So what has he got now? 20 minutes or something like that?
Listen to this.
Goal flashes with Clyde Built Home Improvements.
Hibs 4 Aberdeen 0, and the scorer
Nisbet.
Kevin Nisbet. A through ball, he ran from the halfway line. A cool finish, as you would expect. He's been in terrific goal scoring form. That's why we're talking about a move for him. But he's still scoring goals in the green and white of Hibs today. Kevin Nisbet makes it 4. And if Jim Goodwin's job was hanging already, Hugh, where is it now?
It's over. It's only a matter of how Aberdeen arrive at the decision, when they arrive at the decision, how they announce the decision. Will it be a statement late tonight so that no one can contact anybody and ask them a question? But I cannot conceive of any circumstances that allow Jim Goodwin to manage Aberdeen against St Mirren at Pittodrie on Wednesday.
I feel for Jim.
Can't believe we're at this. We are genuinely talking about how and when the trigger gets pulled. You know, which feels
after the game
feels a
Gordon.
bit cheap. You know,
in recent days.
At the same time, Hugh, maybe I don't remember this happening too often, where the manager actually goes, half an hour after a kick-off. I feel like that used to maybe happen, and now they always try and pretend that they're thinking about it, and they take their time. Just wonder how this will play out tonight.
I was once at Wembley Stadium when Kevin Keegan gave up the England job after the game when they lost to Germany. It was the last ever game at Wembley Stadium.
What were you doing there?
I was covering the match for the Sunday Mail.
Wow. Scottish Sunday Mail.
And I said to the other Scottish journalist that was with me, he's taking too long to come in here. I think he's resigned. Now, an England manager can do that, or any international manager can do that, but Jim Goodwin doesn't resign, because Jim Goodwin's got to look after the financial aspects of this. Aberdeen hired him. Aberdeen can fire him under the proper terms. So he will not resign, but they have to take a decision, and it will speak about the stature of this club, how they do that.
Roger Hanna, when I asked him pre-match, can either manager survive defeat today, and he said that the manner of defeat would have to come into it. Say Aberdeen had played really, really well and Hibs had got the flukiest of 93rd minute winners, would that have been different in terms of the outcome on Jim Goodwin's job? If you go and lose this 4-0 on the week that Dave Cormack, or maybe worse by the way, on the week Dave Cormack was looking for your immediate response, is that the problem?
Well, I'm not even sure if that would have saved him. Just because immediate response, nobody actually knew. We can all agree that nobody actually knew what Dave Cormack meant by that. However, I get your point, Gordon, that when it goes to 4 and it could be worse, then you start the results start stacking up. That there's only one way that this is going. So I get when you try and put a team together for your last stand, you're expecting something better than the Aberdeen players
symbolically
are serving up.
Symbolically, Aberdeen will drop into the bottom 6 tonight, because they'll be leapfrogged by Hibs and by St Mirren. In recent days, Aberdeen have lost 5-0 to Hearts, 1-0 to Darvel, and are now 4-0 down to Hibs. That's 10-0 on aggregate so far.
I do think the manner of the defeat plays a part, because you can now not only you get 0 points no matter what the score is, but you could comfortably look at this today and say, right, it is done. This isn't getting any better because of the manner. Like I say, if it was an encouraging performance, if they lose by 1 goal and then you pull the trigger, then people really do say, what were you on about with that statement the other night then? You basically said, you should have just said, win the game or you're sacked. But seems different because it's so heavy.
Yeah, and Jim will be standing there knowing that the end is there. And it's sad for him. But the one thing I'll say about him is he'll come out, he'll face the press, he'll do his interviews, he'll be honest, he'll be up front. But I'm going to say, as an ex-manager, and I've been in accounts before with players, sometimes you are looking for a bit of help from your players. To me, Aberdeen players have been absolutely disgraceful.
Well, the 5-0, 1-0, 4-0 would underline Gordon Dalziel's point, because this is a lack of character on an alarming scale. They players say, and I hope none of them say it, after the manager has gone, we let him down. You let him down while he was there. There's no point in talking about it once he has gone, and this is a severe letdown. 5-0, 1-0, 4-0 so far.
Yeah. Oscar McIntyre and Josh O'Connor have come on just to make everyone feel old. Josh O'Connor,
Gary O'Connor's boy.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that does make me feel like I'm getting on a bit.
It's not great, is it?
No,
it's not great. You seen him?
No. Very much like Gary.
Father's image.
Yeah, absolutely. So anyway, he's on, and that would be quite something if he managed to get in on the act today.
There's also, and I've been taking your point, Gordon, about the scoreline and how it impacts on the day. When 4, if it becomes 5, there's a difference. It really makes it sound critical. Not that it isn't critical anyway, but it then just sounds like, wow.
Yeah, I kind of get what you mean. I told you that Hadji was coming on and Cholak. There was a third member of the substitution who was Scott Wright. So it was Tillman, Kent and Morelos off, Hadji, Wright and Cholak on.
Well, I mean, they're just running down the clock.
I was thinking more bigger picture though. Michael Beale, he's in that middle ground of trying to sign new players, but also maybe feeling that if Cholak is fit and Hadji's fit, and at whatever point Tom Lawrence and John Suter and Ridvan Yilmaz are fit, and he's got a lot more at his disposal, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think he's also looking ahead to Tynecastle, because that will be a football match. That will not be this stuff where you're just running down the clock. That will be a proper football match, and you want good legs for that one. And I really don't think that Todd Cantwell can start that game, given just how out of touch you look today.
See, the management game, it's all about who you know, isn't it? The Palmerston Pep, Marvin Bartley, goes to Queen of the South, picks up the phone to Davy Martindale and says, give me somebody on loan in the January window. He says, no problem, Marv, take Jay's Cabia with you. He goes, makes his debut today, and he's scored to make it Peterhead 1, Queen of the South 2 with 10 minutes remaining.
I'm feeling that'll be for him, Marv, standing there, go
Gallon
down,
of water,
recruitment. He'll be banging on about his recruitment.
Yeah, it's all about recruitment in this game, and he's right. Yeah, brilliant, great result for him if it stays that way. Gallon of water.
He'll be saying his backroom staff, hold that water up.
He is the most hydrated pundit we've ever had.
I've yet to see this.
Honestly, he wheelbarrows one of big water. Yeah.
Aye.
Yeah. Okay, we say that as if it's a bad thing.
No, not at all. I've been trying it.
Man acts healthy. He'll never catch on.
That's what he says. Dad's got on the water, so that's me every night. Litre of water. I've not slept for 5 days.
You're retaining it a bit.
I've not slept for 5 days.
Wraith Rovers 2, Inverness 2, Billy Mackay.
Where would they be without his goals?
He scores for
Was he an answer on the?
He was.
Yeah.
Full-time teaser.
Yeah,
was he
we
on
got
Thursday
it.
night?
We
We
got
got it. Dad's got it.
Good on you. That's
Top
great.
goal scorer.
Speaking of teasers,
We're not getting this one. Definitely.
Hugh,
not.
remind us.
I have played alongside Scott Allen and Joe Newell. I've been managed by Stubbsy and Alec Neil. My only major honours so far have come in Scotland. I made my professional debut for a Scottish team, but I'm not Scottish. Who am I?
Thank you for managing to continue whilst he yawned into the mic.
Yeah,
that was
yeah.
great. Really off-putting.
I told you I hadn't slept for 5 nights.
He's got a shaving rash today. I think it's affected
okay.
him.
Shut your face.
Is that what that is?
You know what?
I did wonder.
think so, yeah.
Like horrible. What you'd got there.
I know. Put me off my lunch.
Glasgow Icarus says Dylan McGeer.
Oh, no.
Declan Cassidy thinks it might be Martin Boyle.
No.
Joey wants to throw Anthony Stokes' name in.
Stokesy, no.
And Bailey wants to go for Robert Earnshaw.
Robert Earnshaw?
No.
Did he play here?
Yeah, he played with Morton.
Did he?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think
Played at Morton. Capello.
it's nowhere near him. But anyway, Dundee 3, Queen's Park 0. Ryan Sweeney. That's a statement result, isn't it?
That's Queen's Park going well recently as well, but
An odd lot, Dundee. They scored 3 against Queen's Park today. Lost 4 to Arbroath at Dens Park a few weeks ago. But they're really in this race. It's Queen's Park, Ayr United and Dundee. They are the 3, and you can forget the rest.
Yanis Hadji's reacted angrily there. Daniel Phillips gave him a kick once the ball was gone. Hadji didn't like it, pushed him, and then refused to go over when Willie Collum summoned him, so he's been booked for that, as Yanis Hadji. Motherwell are trying, plugging away, but St Mirren looking streetwise, 1 up, managing the game. Doesn't necessarily look like that's going to change anytime soon. And we are very much in late drama territory. The problem would be for us, St Mirren is the only real place we could get it in the top flight, and maybe a Partick Thistle equaliser, but Fraser Wishart tells us he doesn't think that will happen either. But Killie are home and hosed, Rangers home and hosed, Hibs certainly home and hosed. Yes.
See, ordinarily,
No, Kelly's not home and hosed.
Ross County, sorry.
Yeah. Hamilton Accies, ordinarily you would think a great result for John Rankin, but Arbroath, a team directly above him, 4 points above him, I think they're winning at Morton, having been a goal down, so it's an awkward one. He's going to get that, not make any progress.
Still
points on the board, isn't it?
I get what you mean.
Confidence.
Still, yeah. After Ross County last week, they're starting to make moves. I'll fill him with hope. I did say that he needed transfers in, but has he actually signed many?
I don't know.
I don't know.
St Mirren on course for 12 unbeaten in Paisley, which is remarkable,
Good
isn't it?
going, that.
Andrew McLean pointing that out to us. Really is. That's
Yeah.
sensational run of home form. But we'll see. You never know. Maybe the Steelmen have got other ideas and pop up with a late double. I think that would certainly be unlikely. Maybe the equaliser, but the chances of scoring 2 when you've not looked particularly threatening all afternoon, I'm not so sure.
Disappointment for you guys that Mandron wasn't in the squad after scoring 2.
Yeah, he got off to a great
Van
start.
Veen, I'd like to see Van Veen's running stats for this afternoon. I've not seen any of the game, but doesn't get about much. Scores goals, right enough.
He ran on, then he ran off for half time, then he ran back on again for the second half.
Kiltane strain off for St Mirren. Flynn and Gallagher come on.
So it's all about Easter Road now. I'm glad Roger Hanna's there, because he'll bring the old journalistic instincts to it all and get us the what will be red hot quotes from Jim Goodwin.
If he appears before 6 o'clock, although they've got a trip back up the road again, it feels a bit cheap to delve so much into the logistics of this. Does being away from home change things? You've not got that. For a start, you won't have the mad reaction from your home fans. Last we heard from Roger Hannah, I don't know, is Dave Cormack even there? Are all members of the board there?
I would have thought that.
I'm at the stage I wonder if that does change things.
What you've got to think is it's a midweek game as well.
Yeah.
So Aberdeen have to get their ducks in a row with that. They can't, waste any time. The first team will be back in training tomorrow. They have to start preparing for the game midweek because it's crucial for their season. So I think it has to be made, the decision one way or another tonight, whether that's at Easter Road or by the time the bus arrives back in Aberdeen.
If you're Dave Cormack and you're the owner of the club, and the club is in the state it is in today, you are morally obliged to stay in Aberdeen.
Jeez, it's getting worse. Hibs have got a penalty.
Oh, well, I repeat, you are morally obliged to stay in Aberdeen, sort out the removal of Jim Goodwin and the installation of another man. You don't leave town until you have reset the dial for the club. And if he does leave town, then what kind of leader is this?
Well, I don't think Jim will be getting on the bus. I think he'll be heading back to Glasgow to his house and deal with it from there.
I mean, you see all this now we're getting carried away. He might go to his house in Aberdeen.
He's got a house in Aberdeen.
He needs to.
He'll go home to Glasgow and then drive up to Aberdeen himself.
I don't think Jim Goodwin.
This is crazy. This is a crazy conversation.
He's still in a job just now.
He's
as
not
we
in a
speak.
job just
Let's
now.
give it
He's
10
out of a
minutes.
job.
Let's give it 10 minutes because Liam Scales has been sent off for the penalty. It was on Josh O'Connor, Gary O'Connor's boy, as he'll be forever known. And there's the chance for it to get worse for Jim Goodwin still then from the penalty spot. Down to 10 men. It is heading in a remarkable direction. Kevin Nisbet take it. Of course, Liam Scales was sent off there last time. Remember, very controversially. And there was a lot said about that one. It's actually Josh Campbell going for a hat-trick. That would be quite something. Cornelius has come on for Sean Goss. Another throw of the dice for Motherwell, but it's not looking likely late on that they can grab this equaliser. What's happening here? Josh Campbell, 3 minutes added in Dingwall, so we're getting to that stage. And Josh Campbell.
Goal flashes with Clyde Built Home Improvements.
Yes, they have, and it's Hibs 5, Aberdeen 0. 5-0 against Aberdeen in the week that Dave Cormack said he was looking for an immediate response to the defeat to Darvel.
Well, he got it. It got worse.
Incredible.
It is incredible. It's amazing how this game, can prove you wrong so much. We stood here at the start and gave our predictions, and Hugh and I said that we thought that there'd be some sort of reaction from an Aberdeen team that were wounded, and I include the players in that. I thought the players would be rolling up the sleeves and digging in, and they've rolled over, and it looks like it's only one way for
Hugh,
Jim.
let's finish this off then.
Yep.
The second half teaser
with thescottishsun.co.uk/football for the best football news and opinion online.
I played alongside Scott Allen and Joe Newell. I was managed by Alan Stubbs and Alec Neil. My only major honours came in Scotland. I made my professional debut for a Scottish team, but I'm not Scottish. I am Darnell Fisher.
Darnell Fisher.
Never in a million
Incredible
years.
Played with Darnell.
I was going to say, did you not mentor him? You would have been the right back.
Never got that.
He broke through. Darnell Fisher. Remarkable, really well done. Paul Slevin, was it? Well done to Paul, who was in third place. Kyle Chalmers in second, and the winner is Woody 67. Loads of people got that as well.
I did. Great knowledge, that.
Really good.
Kind of forgotten, man.
Really good.
Good player, by the way. When he broke through, really good player.
He's a Middlesbrough now. Yeah, he's gone. Had a good career. Yeah, very good. Very, very good. Jamie Snedden's up for the corner for Partick this year.
Come on, a double for the season.
Surely not. Sakala's had a deflected effort. Remy Matthews turned it round the post, which is all very well and good, but we need to see if Jamie Snedden can. Imagine a goalie goes up and scores twice in the same season.
He'd be Partick's top goal scorer.
He's not even the biggest either. Remember we said that at the time, and he came on the show.
Shut his eyes.
So
that's it. Hit in the head. Hero.
And he didn't come on the phone. We had an interview with him. We then asked him to come on the phone, but they were away in Benidorm or something, and we thought that might not be.
Who was away in
wise.
Benidorm? Partick Thistle.
Yeah.
Never heard of that as a training camp.
No goal, and off he runs. Makes that really sad, lonely run all the way back up the pitch.
By the way, in this Rangers game, Sakala came on and he's had an instant impact. You'd probably say he should have scored at least one of his chances. He's had about 4 efforts.
Full time in Dingwall, arguably one of the results of the day, certainly. Dave Galloway.
Yeah, huge victory for Ross County. Ross County 3, Kilmarnock 0. New lone striker Brophy got them off to the perfect start in the 13th minute. He had a simple finish to convert Kenna's cross. County were dominant at this stage, carving out some good chances. From one of them, Yakoviti lashed the ball over when well placed. Kelly, though, came right back into it and almost equalised when a driven ball from Jones flashed across the goal mouth, but Vassell.
Dave Galloway, let me stop you right there, because we just need to tell you about this, and I'm sure you'll agree when you hear it.
Goal flashes with Clyde Built Home Improvements.
Hibs 6, Aberdeen 0. Will Fish with a header from a free kick. 6-0. Unbelievable stuff. Sorry, Dave, and this will just make your afternoon a lot worse, I'm sure. But pick up if you can.
The world's gone mad. Taylor headed wide from a few yards as Killy pushed as the first half advanced, following a free kick. Then Robinson missed an absolute sitter, a candidate for miss of the season, an open goal. He was only about 4 or so yards out, and he somehow managed to put the ball over the bar. Waters then hit one from about 25-30 yards out, a dipping long range drive. It was just over the bar. The visitors then finishing the first first half strongly, but it was 2-0 County 3 minutes into the second half. Callaghan squared for White to score for point blank range, and the Staggies made it 3 when Danda's 30-yarder appeared to be pretty harmless, but it was somehow fumbled over the line by Hemming. That was on 63 minutes. Killy did make a flurry of substitutions to try and get back into things, but Harmon at the other end almost got the home side's fourth goal firing just over from Samuel's cutback. Plenty effort then from Kilmarnock to at least cut the deficit in that second half, but Ross County very comfortably in command. Excuse me, and it's looking very interesting indeed now at the bottom of the table. It's Ross County 3, Kilmarnock 0.
It's looking very interesting because Motherwell have had one cleared off the line as well, so it looks like they're going to lose, and that will be 4 teams on 20 points following that brilliant win that for Ross County. Quickly before we get distracted, isn't it, Hugh?
Yeah, it's a psychological boost for Malky Mackay. Long time nailed to the floor of the league table, but now he's off the bottom. However, there is a log jam developing there. There are teams in the top 6 who are in trouble, but there are teams in the bottom 6, and they're getting more and more plentiful, who are doing nothing at all, going nowhere. Kilmarnock, St.Johnstone, Motherwell, Ross County, even though they're off the bottom, they're still up to their neck in trouble. So this is going to be a hard one.
Full time at Easter Road. What about this for a story, Roger Hanna?
Full time, Hibernian 6, Aberdeen 0. Jim Goodwin's Don's career is surely over. A pathetic performance by a side who had been told they needed an immediate improvement to save the manager. It started with Goodwin out, banners in the away end. There were chances of sacked in the morning as the goals rained in. Jeers from the away fans who had come to Easter Road, more in hope than expectation. It's 1 win in 10 for Goodwin. The last 3 games, a 5-0 defeat in Edinburgh to Hearts, a 1-0 shocker at Darvel on Monday night, and now a 6-0 defeat to Hibs at Easter Road. Dave Cormack and the Football Monitoring Board wanted instant improvement, but the alarming decline actually gathered momentum here. They were dreadful at the back, they had no dig in midfield, they were toothless up front, and it looks like time up for the manager. As for Hibs, they were sublime. They took the lead in 10 minutes. Josh Campbell tapping in after Joe Lewis had saved an angled drive from Ailey Ewan. In 15 minutes it was 2-0, a flying header from Campbell from Joe Newell's corner. They added a third in stoppage time at the end of the first half. Another set piece the Don's defence couldn't deal with, Ewan glancing in a header at the near post. Kevin Nisbet come off the substitutes bench midway through the second half and added a fourth in 73 minutes. The Don's defence split by a lovely through ball. He ran from halfway in a cool finish past Lewis. That's 8 goals in 8 games for the Scotland striker. It was 5 goals for Hibs and a hat-trick for Campbell after 88 minutes. Liam Scales bringing down teenage substitute Josh O'Connor. It was a second booking for Scales. He saw red for the second time at Easter Road this season, and Campbell kept his composure to send Lewis the wrong way from this spot. And 5 became 6 in added time. A first Hibernian goal for on loan Manchester United defender Will Fish. An easy back post header from a free kick. It's the biggest win of Lee Johnson's Hibs reign. It may well be the final game of Jim Goodwin's Don's reign. Hibernian 6, Aberdeen 0.
Absolutely remarkable. We'll get stuck right into that one on the open line. Let's give you some more full-time pictures though. I think Fraser Wishart was first in the Championship. Fraser?
Yeah, finished here. Partick Thistle 0, Hampton Accies 1-0 blow for Partick Thistle, but Accies revival continues. 3 wins, 3 clean sheets and 3 valuable points today, and John Rankin I think deserves real credit. After a first half where they showed absolutely nothing in attack, he made 3 attacking changes at half time, and one of them, Dylan Stevenson on loan from Newcastle, scored the winning goal. For the first half for Thistle, their fans completely dominant, nice football, but unable to break down the Accies defence. Danny Mullen came closest with a couple of headers that drifted wide, but nothing in attack for Accies and Ian McCall. They wanted the same in the second half with a couple of goals. John Rankin made those 3 substitutions. Young Connor Smith as well on loan from Hearts came on and played really well. Danny Mullen then almost got a goal for Thistle. He just tried to turn inside the 6-yard box, but the chance was gone. And after that sucker punch in the 53rd minute, 8 minutes into the second half, John Pierre Teehee set up young Dylan Stevenson on loan from Newcastle. He ran through 1-1 from just inside the Partick Thistle half, and he just showed real composure as he lifted the ball coolly past Snedden into the back of the net. Stevenson then could have made it 2 fierce shot just over the junction of the bar and post. And then you recall, injuries meant no senior players, turned to young players off the bench. Young Xander McKenzie came on and he should have scored with his first touch. He snatched at the shot and it bounced wide. Fitzpatrick's shot at Fulton, but back to the same pattern for Thistle. Fans frustrated at lack of chances. Aki's dangerous on the break, and the last throw of the dice from Jags. Adam Muir headed a looping header over the goalkeeper. It's cleared off the line by Sparrow from the corner. Jamie Snedden, who of course has scored this season, the big goalkeeper, came up, but it was a hold header that was saved on the line by Fulton. A few boos from the Jags fans at the end because with Queen's Park losing, Jags have missed a real chance to close in on the top of the table. Full time at Firhill, Partick Thistle 0, Hamilton Accies 1.
Finished in Paisley, David Friel.
Full time Gordon, St Mirren 1, Motherwell 0. St Mirren are back in the top 6 and they are now 12 home games unbeaten after this hard fought win. I'll be honest, there wasn't a lot of quality on show, but Stephen Robinson didn't care after a big 3 points. He enjoyed this one against his old club. He was on the pitch at full time, he was embracing people, he was sprinting around, he was punching air. Curtis Main grabbed the only goal of the game. The 12 match unbeaten run in Paisley stretches back to July, and it really is an incredible achievement. There were only 2 shots in target in the first half and Curtis Main scored with one of them. Ryan Strain got the assist, a low cross in, the big striker got in ahead of Liam Kelly to steer a shot in at the front post. Motherwell had a penalty claim turned down when Ricky Lamie went down the box, but they really struggled to create in the first half. But they should have been level 90 seconds after the restart when Lamie, totally unmarked, headed wide after being picked out by Blair Spittle's corner. Jonah Ayunga had a half chance for St Mirren, but the home side were content to sit in and let Motherwell try to break them down. It almost did when Ollie Crankshaw's low cross fell to Max Jones at the edge of the box. Fullback, good effort on goal. Trevor Carson saved the first one and then gathered at the second attempt. Motherwell, to be fair, kept pressing. Stuart McCrinsey had a huge chance in injury time. Ball came to the back post. Carson flicked it out to him. McKinstry got some space, but Alec Gogic was on the line to block his goal-bound shot. A big one for St Mirren, but Motherwell are now 9 league games without a win, and Stevie Hamill needs results quickly. They are in a relegation battle now. Full time, St Mirren 1, Motherwell 0.
It's finished at Ibrox. Andrew McLean.
Rangers 2, St Johnstone 0, the full time score. Another win for Michael Beale's men, but once again you feel they're capable of more, especially with the Saints down to 10 men for the majority of this game. Rangers took the lead from the penalty spot. The ball dropped over the head of Connor Golton onto the arm of a St Johnstone defender. Willie Collum pointed straight to the spot, as you'd expect. James Tavernier stepped up to take it. He found the top corner, and that was 1-0. Around 20 minutes in, Remy Matthews made a good save from Alfredo Morelos, who had been played through 1-on-1, and then some quick red card and VAR drama in separate incidents. Nicky Clark, he slid in on Ryan Jack. He won the ball but caught the midfielder high on the follow through. Willie Collum showing him a straight red card. Ryan Jack recovered from that but then looked frustrated as he flew in on a challenge on Adam Montgomery. A yellow card was shown at this point. Willie Collum told to go to the screen by Nick Walsh, the VAR. Willie Collum stood by his original decision though, and Ryan Jack stayed on the pitch before he was substituted off at half time by Michael Beale. St Johnstone really should have equalised before the break though. Dre Wright rounded Alan McGregor but took a fresh air swipe at a vital moment when it came to shoot. It could have changed the course of the game, but Rangers came out at the start of the second half. They looked lively, a few chances, but Remy Matthews made some stops, a key one from Ryan Kent in particular. Their second goal did come 57 minutes in. The ball played into the feet of Alfredo Morelos at the edge of the box. It was a lovely flick round the corner for Glenn Kamara, who calmly finished for 2-0. It was a relatively low-key debut for Todd Cantwell, and there was also a return to action for Yanis Hadji off the bench, his first appearance for 372 days. He was unable to help Rangers add to their lead in what was a routine victory, although they'll feel they should have done more once St Johnstone went down to 10 men. The full-time score here at Ibrox is Rangers 2, St Johnstone 0.
What a day of football in Scotland, and now it's over to you to have your say. 0141 951 1025. It's not often that here in Glasgow and the West at this stage on a Saturday we look immediately to you Aberdeen fans. How on earth do you react to that? A 6-0 defeat at Easter Road. It feels daft even asking the question, is this the end of the road for Jim Goodwin? How does this play out from here? And it's such a big result, such a big story. I think maybe fans of other clubs might have an opinion on it as well. So it's the same number, 0141 951 1025. Maybe a bit closer to home, Rangers fans. What did you make of that then? Routine 2-0 win against St Johnstone. How did you rate Todd Cantwell's debut? What else did you take away from the game? There was a handball penalty given to Rangers. There was Ryan Jack not sent off despite a monitor check by Willie Collum. Nicky Clark was sent off. What did you make of those big talking points? And then on to tomorrow, Celtic fans. How are you feeling about the trip to Dundee United? Producer Callum's hoping it's not 9 again. Will there be a debut for O? Is Giacomakis on his way? 01419511025. We will speak to you next.
After the action, it's your reaction. 0141 951 1025. Clyde One Super Scoreboard's open line.
The dust is just starting to settle on an action-packed day of Scottish football with some remarkable results and stories, none more so than at Easter Road. But let me give you the full picture. That game did finish Hibs 6, Aberdeen 0, Rangers 2, St.Johnstone 0, Ross County 3, Kilmarnock 0, St Mirren 1, Motherwell 0. In the Championship, Dundee 3, Queen's Park 0, Morton 1, Arbroath 2, Partick Thistle 0, Hamilton Accies 1, and the Wraith Rovers 2, Inverness 2. In League 1, Airdrie 4, Alloa 0, Clyde 1, Dunfermline 1, FC Edinburgh 1, Falkirk 2, Montrose